Hello friends. Welcome to the Marvel fiction. How are you all? So in this video, we will see what if Captain America reincarnated in Justice League with powerful Marvel team. But before we start, if you want more amazing stuff like this, then be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Also, if possible, share this video with your friends. Now without wasting any more time, let's begin the story. Two men wearing ski masks enter a drugstore. They look around for a few seconds before coming to the front of the store. One of them pulls out a gun, aiming it at the head of the man who stands behind the cash register. The individual tries his best not to show fear, but it is possible he may not survive this encounter. But hearing of situations as the one which presents him, cooperating is probably the best thing to do. "All right, old man, you know what the hell we want. Fill this bag up," one of the thugs yells. He throws a brown bag onto the table. Being frightened, the guy behind the cash register opens the safe. He fills the bag with money. One of the criminals grabs the bag, and the two quickly exit. Running across the street, they get into a car. The one who gets into the driver's seat starts up the vehicle, driving off as fast as they can. "Ah, would you look at all this money? The boss will be proud with us." The guy in the passenger seat yells, excited for what they've accomplished. The man driving just smiles, not saying anything. Hearing a thump on top of the car, both men's eyes widen at the sound. The guy in the passenger seat rolls down his window, with a gun in hand. Instantly, he is pulled out of the window. He is surprised to see the hero in tights. "I hope you fellas are planning on returning that money. Come on now, you should have known your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man would show up," Spidey says in a cheerful tone. He webs the thief to the top of the car. Spider-Man gets in the car, through the passenger window. "Hey, what's up? Your partner is a little webbed up right now. Why don't you pull the car over? That will make it easier for us all," Spider-Man suggests. "Spider-Man," the guy yells, pulling a gun from his pocket. Spidey kicks the gun out of his hand, webbing the criminal to his seat. Spider-Man moves over and steps on the brakes. He then removes the keys, stopping the car. Minutes pass, with the police arriving to find the two men webbed upside down on a light post. Spider-Man swings on his web through New York City, in his blue and red tights. He comes to a stop, at the top of a skyscraper. He digs in his suit to pull out a cell phone, and dials a number. It rings for a bit before someone answers. "Hey Tony, it's me, Peter. What is it you wanted to tell me?" Spider-Man asks. On the other line, Spidey can hear the loud noises of machines. "Hey Tony, are you still there?" Spider-Man asks. A few seconds pass. "Oh hey Peter, you should turn to Channel 2. The worldwide voting for the greatest hero is almost done. They are just waiting on the votes from Beijing and Wyoming," Tony Stark tells. Spider-Man pauses for a second. "You called me for this? I thought it was something important. Why did you call me about this?" Spidey asks, confused. "They just announced that the winner will be the poster boy for a new worldwide security system. I'm just letting you know you made 4th place," Tony Stark tells. Spider-Man heart rate speeds up. "Are you serious? Is there an official 3rd place yet? Who are the 3 ahead of me?" Spidey asks. "The Beauty, Wonder Woman, Superman, and Captain America are the 3 ahead. It's going to be close, it's on a few channels," Tony replies. Spider-Man looks down at the city to see 2 men beating on one guy. "Hey, thanks for the update Tony, but I really have to go," Spidey says in a hurry. The two hang up. City miles away, a woman walks in a dark alley holding her belongings close to her side. The moonlight is about the only reason she is able to see in this dark part of the city. Before moving here, she's done her research, fully knowing about the many maniacs and criminals which lurk in the city, in which some say is unsavable. But that will not scare her off. Depending on the business agreement with her company will determine how long she's going to stay. Crossing the street, she steps over a set of newspapers which are eventually blown out of sight. Continuing to walk, she is surrounded by a group of laughing men. Well, I think we just got lucky, boys. She sure is a pretty one," a guy says, licking his lips. "Please don't do this, I have money. Besides, if you even touch me you will be hearing from my lawyers." The woman stands tall, not showing any fear. She has an idea what might happen if she doesn't get out of here right now. 2 men come up from behind her, throwing her to the ground. They hold her down, while she struggles to free herself. Another guy bends down, and starts cutting her skirt off. Quickly ripping it off, she is slapped in the face to keep quit. The remaining men form a line behind him. Seeing this, her eyes widen as she now puts all of her strength in trying to break free. "Now to get rid of these," he says, looking at her panties. Something comes out of the darkness at a fast speed, hitting one of the men in the head. The guy falls to the ground with everyone else looking around, taking their attention off the woman. The guy picks up the object that hit him, having an instant shiver run up his spine as goosebumps form on his arm seeing its bat shape. All men step away from the woman, pulling out their pocket knives and daggers, looking in all directions. Just as he has done so many times before, he glides down, taking out his first victim. The Batman, a guy yells, pulling out a gun. Rolling out the Dark Knight throws a batarang, knocking the gun out of his hand. Batman runs over and knocks down the two men who were holding the woman down. Jumping over the woman, putting himself in the middle of the remaining men. They all try and attack him at the same time. The blades on Batman's gauntlets slice into the face of a guy, who falls to the ground, blood shooting from his face. A guy stabs a knife into Batman's side. The Dark Knight yells out in pain, but sucks it up, knowing he has felt much worse. He quickly removes the knife. With the passing of seconds, he eliminates the group of thugs. The woman, still with tears in her eyes, runs up to Batman, pulling him in for a hug. "Oh, thank you, I just moved to Gotham. I guess the legend of the Batman is true," the woman says, crying into his chest, body armor. "It will be okay now, the police are on their way," Batman replies, trying to comfort her. Standing in place for a few moments longer, he does nothing, just letting her get rid of any and all tears she may have. Slowly freeing himself from her grasp, he walks over, cuffing all criminals, making sure none will escape before the police can arrive. After doing so, he turns back to the woman, questioning her on why she was attacked. Explaining that she just moved to the city gives him the conclusion she was attacked at random. Waiting it out, the police force soon arrive to the certain area. "Hello, Commissioner, make sure she gets home," Batman says, pulling out his grapple gun. Pulling himself to the rooftops, he travels to higher ground where he can patrol the city more. The rally. The men are arrested and taken away while the woman answers questions which are asked by the Gotham police force. Leaving the scene, jumping from rooftop to rooftop. This has always been a good way to warm himself up for any action he'll get himself into in close combat. While doing this, the communications piece in his ear buzzes. Before answering, he grapples up onto a dragon statue before answering. "Hello, Master Bruce, I'm calling to let you know that Ms. Kayla has called for you 3 times. She seems to be worried about you after your sudden breakup," Alfred tells. Batman just stands there for a little bit, looking down at the dark city. Shaking his head at the sight of a drunk driver just agitates him. Some may wonder how he knows, but the way the vehicle drifts all but confirms this. "If she calls again, tell her I'm away on business," Batman finally replies. "Okay, sir, will do," Alfred replies. "I'm getting someone on the other line, speak with you later," Batman says, switching over. "Hello, Batman, you need to get to Metropolis now. The Justice League needs you," a female voice yells. "Wait, Metropolis? What is so serious that they need his help? Shouldn't the Man of Steel be more than enough? Aside from that, Gotham seems to have a few extra troublemakers out tonight." "Diana, I'm busy at the moment, I'm sure you guys can handle it," Batman rejects. Gliding down to a lower rooftop, he makes his way closer to the speeding vehicle, running at full speed, leaping onto yet another building, keeping pace. "Please, Bruce, we need you. Superman and Green Lantern are currently on a different mission," Wonder Woman yells again. Pulling out 4 batarangs, he throws them, having almost perfect aim, flattening 3 of the drunk's wheels, watching the vehicle crash into a stop sign. "Please, Bruce," Diana asks, but in a soft, almost seductive tone. A smirk grows on Batman's face. "Okay, I'll do it just for you, princess," Batman says in a sarcastic tone. "Okay, but hurry," Wonder Woman replies. Batman ends the transition, pulling a device out of his utility belt, pressing in his coordinates. Waiting over a few minutes, the Batplane arrives 20 feet above his position. Worlds away, the champion of Mortal Kombat himself stands in the middle of a ring with Kung Lao opposite to him, staring down one another. "Ready, begin," someone yells. Liu Kang shoots a fire blast at Kung Lao, which hits him in the chest. The blast's force knocks Kung Lao to the ground. The Shaolin fighter is quick to get back on his feet. Liu Kang jumps into the air to kick Kung Lao, but his kick is grabbed. Kung Lao throws Liu Kang to the other side of the ring. He lands on his back, but Liu quickly flips back up. Kung Lao runs over and begins fighting Liu. The two throw kicks and punches on each other. "Time, that will be enough," another voice says. "Lord Raiden," Liu Kang says with a bow. Kung Lao also bows down. It's good to see the two of you training hard, as the tournament is in 2 days, Raiden says. Yes, of course, I know the two of us will be ready. As you know, the Mortal Kombat tournament is not to be taken lightly, Kung Lao adds. Good, I will see the two of you later, Raiden says. The Thunder God is quick to disappear in a blinding flash of electricity. Liu Kang heads inside to a workout area, to lift weights. Kung Lao also heads inside, but to take a shower. In a mountain to the west, a table sits out in the open, with target boards facing up on it. A ninja wearing the colors black and yellow, practices by throwing shurikens at the boards. After practicing that for a while, Scorpion continues his training, with a series of 100 push-ups and sit-ups. Populated city miles away, a man wearing sunglasses sits in a coffee diner watching TV. A door to the diner opens, and it seems to get his attention. Hello Johnny Cage, it is finally nice to meet you. I'm the director of the upcoming film you will be taking part in. By the way, I'm Richie Edwards. The director explains. He sits down next to Cage, who takes another sip of his coffee. The guy wears bright colors which somewhat distracts Cage, but he tries to stay focused on the business which needs to be discussed. It's good to finally meet you as well, so when will filming start? Johnny asks. Richie looks down at his watch. Filming will start in the next few weeks. I'm sorry I came in so late, but I have a meeting to get to. But please, take my card. Richie hands Johnny one of his business cards. Richie gets up from the table and exits. Honestly, he wonders why Johnny gets up to leave, but a familiar blonde enters. She turns and walks over to Cage. Hey Sonya, what brings you here? You look very beautiful today. You don't usually wear that much makeup, Johnny asks. Sonya blushes for a second. Thanks Johnny, I'm here because I heard you were meeting someone, so I thought I'd stop by just to say hi, Sonya says. I'm assuming you are ready for the Mortal Kombat tournament that is in a few days, Johnny asks. Yes I am. It was nice talking with you, but I better not keep my date waiting, Sonya says. She looks at Johnny's face as his smile is quickly taken off. She giggles a bit from his reaction. She walks for the exit. With who? Johnny asks. Sonya turns around and smiles. None of your business, she replies. Sonya takes this opportunity to exit, not long after Johnny takes off as well. Inside a cave miles away, Shang Tsung enters the cave well on guard. He can see a torch giving off light ahead, so he follows it. When he finally reaches the lit-up area, he recognizes the person. What are you doing here, Shao Kahn? Shang Tsung yells out. The question is why you are here. I was invited, Shao Kahn replies. So was I, but since you are here, I will have the pleasure of killing you, Shang Tsung says, pulling out a knife. Shao Kahn just stands in place, not saying a thing. I'm glad to see the two of you could make it. Now let's get down to business, a female voice speaks. Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn are looking around to see where the voice came from. She steps out of a dark corner to reveal herself. Both Shang Tsung and Kahn's eyes widen at her appearance. She appears with long blonde hair, dark green eyes, and breasts almost the size of Power Girl. Looking at her overall shape, the two are amazed. What's wrong boys, a cat catch your tongue, she asks. She wears black boots and a gray and white suit. Are the two of you ready to discuss my offer, she asks. Shao Kahn clears his throat. Yes of course, let's hear it, Shao Kahn replies. Okay good, I will give you a visual while I explain what I want, she says. What is your name, Shang Tsung asks. Turning to him she throws her head back, so now all of her hair is behind her ear. I'm Pathina, she replies. Pathina creates an energy ball from her hands. She lets go of it and the energy floats upward. It stops at a point and increases size. What is happening? Shao Kahn asks. Show me the Fantastic Four, Pathina yells. The energy forms a square shape, and a clear image of the Fantastic Four in battle appears. They are fighting a huge robot. Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung focus in on it. They are the Fantastic Four. I called the two of you here because I want you to help me destroy them, Pathina tells. That guy on fire looks really tough, Shang Tsung adds. Oh yes, Human Torch, he is a hottie. Show me the Titans, Pathina says. Titan's Tower is now on the screen, with Kid Devil and Ravager sitting on a couch. The Teen Titans and Fantastic Four are a minor threat. I really need the two of you to help me destroy the Justice League and the Avengers, Pathina says aloud. Pathina goes through footage of both the Avengers and Justice League, with Kahn and Shang Tsung. She snaps her fingers with the energy window disappearing. The two men are silent for a while. Shang Tsung breaks the silence. How do you expect us to kill them all? And what is your full plan? Also, what's in it for us? Shang Tsung asks. Athena tells them her plan to take over the planet, once the heroes are destroyed. With them all out of the picture, there will be nothing to stop her from ruling over everything. Also, don't worry about heroes like Daredevil or Wildcat, they haven't got any powers. I just want the superpowered heroes gone. If the two of you help me pull this off, I have the power to make you the leaders of this world, Athena says with a smile. Both Shang Tsung and Shao Kahn smile. Both shake hands with the woman, forming an alliance. She explains to the two why she chose them, and her ability to teleport to different dimensions. Just to put you both on full alert, you need to be most careful of these so-called heroes. Athena throws the pick to Kahn. In the image are Captain America, Superman, Ms. Marvel, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Spider-Man, The Flash, Power Girl, Hulk, Thor and Captain Marvel. Both men look at the image. Athena, why don't we all go back to my place to discuss the plan? Kahn asks. She finishes putting on her pink lipstick, she licks her lips and turns to face the two. Good idea, plus it is a bit dark in here, Athena replies. The three exit the cave. Shaolin Temple Kung Lao gets out of the shower and dries off. Liu Kang still trains in the workout room. Liu punches hard and fast on the boxing bag. Worlds away, two men exit a liquor store. On their way out, another guy accidentally bumps into one of them. Sorry about that, the guy says. The two men put down their bags. Not really having a clear head, one of the men throws the guy up against the wall. Have the two of you been drinking? Really, bub, I don't want to hurt the two of you, the guy on the wall says. Too late, freak show, next time watch where the hell you're going, the man says, pulling his fist back. 3 blades come out of the guy's knuckles, who leans up against the wall. The man lets go of his shirt. Hey, I was just playing, man, the man says in a panic. Both men grab their bottles of beer and run off. That's what I thought, Wolverine says. The blades slip back into his knuckles. Back in Gotham City, Batman returns to the cave, hopping out of the Batplane, making his way down the stairs. He stretches out his neck, still feeling pain from the blow he received from the giant squid which tossed him into the side of an ice cream truck. Not only that, but his lower left rib aches from the punishing blows he took from the android. But hey, this is a normal day of life for the Batman, this is what he lives for. Hey Bruce, how was patrol? A voice asks. Lifting the cowl off his head, he continues forward toward the main area of the cave. It was fine. What are you still doing up, Tim? It's like 4:30 in the morning, Batman asks. Tim turns around to face Batman. I'm doing some research on this mob boss, I think I might know where he will strike next. And when he does, Robin will be there to take him down, Tim answers. I see, but I think it is time we both call it a night, Batman adds. Walking past him, he enters into the dressing area where he undresses. Taking off his upper uniform, he bends over a bit, putting his head into a sink, running the water over his face. This sure has been one long night, but he doesn't mind, he prefers it that way. Fully undressing, he takes a quick shower. When done, he steps into a white robe made of smooth polyester. Exiting out of the back room, he travels up to the manor with Tim by his side. The sun rises over the city of Metropolis, reflecting off the various glass windows throughout the city of the tallest buildings and skyscrapers. It may not be the city that never sleeps, but it possesses arguably the greatest protector in all of the globe. The crime rate has been steady for the past few weeks. In fact, most trouble lurks elsewhere. Of course, there are a few crimes here and there, but nothing too serious. Opening his eyes, the Kryptonian yawns, picking up the TV remote, turning it on. Breaking news, 2 nuclear missiles have been launched, to 2 different locations in the world, a newswoman tells. Just as in the past, no time can be wasted, with the window of his apartment flying open with him gone in seconds. Inside the White House, Mr. President, what do you want us to do? A guy asks with a little panic. Many officials as well as the president look down at the radar. Good God, one of the missiles is heading this way, an official yells. We have no chance of retreating, we must try and shoot it down. It will reach here in less than a minute and a half, the president tells. Someone get a hold of Iron Man right now, another official yells. The officials look at the radar again to see that another missile is heading to China and the last to Europe. 2 unidentified objects appear on radar. One is heading toward the missile heading for China, and the other to Europe. What in the world, who could be behind this? Fear can be felt between all the men within the room. What will happen once this gets out to the public? Mr. President, we got in contact with Iron Man. He is headed to stop China, and his buddy War Machine is headed to stop the other one. They don't know there is a third nuclear missile headed our way. Should I let him know? The guy asks. It doesn't matter if you do or not, they won't make it here in time, the president replies. Hey everyone, get over here to the radar. A third unidentified object is closing in fast on the missile headed this way, an official yells. All men in the room gather around the radar. The missile that was headed for the White House is now heading up into space. Everyone in the room jump up cheering, feeling so much emotion, some even with tears in their eyes. One of the men turns on a nearby TV. The crisis is now over, thanks to Iron Man, War Machine, and Superman. They have diverted the weapons to safe locations, the newswoman tells. The officials in the room chant Superman's name. Outside of Earth, Superman flies the missile into space and pushes it forward with much force. Looking around, he spots Iron Man and War Machine, getting rid of the other missiles. Flying over to the two, he quickly gets their attention. Boy, it never seems to get old being up here. The beauty of space has always been something that comforts him looking down on the Earth. But things have changed within the past few months with the merging of the two Earths. Superman, what brings you up here? Iron Man asks. Let's get back into Earth's atmosphere and we can chat there, Superman replies. War Machine and Iron Man follow Superman, who leads them back into the planet. Honestly, he has always wondered what it would be like to fly away through the Milky Way in space without a worry in the world. Maybe someday there will be world peace, but it won't be today nor tomorrow. Flying down over the city that never sleeps, the three come to a stop on one of the more taller buildings. New York City is always on the move, just as it is now, with the many trains and vehicles moving about, with most going to work and others to whatever else. I was up there as well, shortly after the first two missiles were launched. A third missile was fired off, heading toward the White House, Superman tells. How could we have missed one? That would have cost many lives. Iron Man kicks at the ground. Don't beat yourself up over it, things turned out just fine. Lucky the three of us were there, Superman says. I have an idea where the missiles were fired from. War Machine, I want you to head back to the White House and let them know we will have everything figured out, Iron Man says. Alright Tony, see you later. War Machine rockets off at a high speed. Both look up to see War Machine blast out of sight. What just happened will probably have a lot of people panicking, pointing fingers, but not these two. It's men and women like them which excel in these situations. Discussing with each other, they're interrupted by a certain individual who swings up seemingly out of nowhere, landing next to Cal. Hey guys, good work getting rid of the missiles. Good to finally meet you, Superman, Spider-Man says. Both Superman and Iron Man look at Spidey. Him showing up at this time is definitely random, but maybe he can help. Hey, come to think of it, this is the first time the two of you have met, Spider-Man says. How did you know that we were up here? Iron Man asks. I was just swinging around and happened to see War Machine flying off. So have you guys got an idea where the missiles were fired from? Spidey asks. Yes, I think I have the exact place. Superman and I are going to check it out, Iron Man says, getting ready to fly off. Hey, wait a sec. I want to go with you guys. You never know, you might need my help, Spidey says, crossing his arms. Iron Man turns to look at the wall crawler, but before he can speak, someone else does. You can come, but be on guard when we get there, Superman tells. Of course, after all I'm Spider-Man, Spidey says. Superman just smiles at the reply. The Man of Steel picks up Spider-Man. You lead the way, Mr. Stark, Superman says. Iron Man blasts off into the air. Superman follows him with much speed. Hopefully they aren't in for a surprise when arriving. Worlds away, Shao Kahn enters a palace. Hello Prince Guro, I have much to tell you. This Earth realm will finally be ours. Guro sits listening to Shao Kahn tell him about Pathina and her plan. The prince sits there for a moment, before speaking. The biggest question is, can this woman be trusted? That's all they need right now, is to be backstabbed. Can this woman be trusted? Where are she and Shang Tsung now? Guro asks, standing up from his chair. The two of them are completing step 1 of the plan. Not even Liu Kang himself will be able to stop us, Shao Kahn says. Guro shows a face of disbelief. Some woman comes out of nowhere saying she will eliminate all their enemies. Now that is funny, but for what is the question? You seem to have doubts. Don't worry, my friend. It will all be clear to you soon. She has an army of alien fighters which can morph shape and appearance, Shao Kahn explains. Guro sits back down. Can we trust this girl? Guro asks again. Yes, we can. After all, she came to us for help, Khan tells. With those words, Shao Kahn exits the room. Lin Kuei. Temple Sub-Zero enters the main room, feeling tired, stretching out his arm. Hello master, I am back. The training session went well, Sub-Zero tells. That is good to hear. How is the training coming with the rest of the Lin Kuei fighters? The eldest member asks. They all seem to be improving. Before you ask, yes, I have signed up for the tournament, Sub-Zero tells. Both Sub-Zero and the Lin Kuei's eldest member are quiet for a little bit. Sub-Zero looks up at the eldest member. Perhaps this will be the year he brings home the championship. Doing that won't be an easy task with the competition he'll be up against. I'm going outside of the temple for a training exercise. I will be back in a few hours, Sub-Zero tells. The eldest member nods his head, giving Sub-Zero permission to go. Before leaving, Sub-Zero bows. Worlds away, Iron Man and Superman land, in the area of an abandoned military site, on an island. Superman lets go of Spider-Man. The three begin looking around for anything that could be of importance. A tank is thrown high into the air, at Spider-Man. Superman with his speed zooms over and catches the tank. He sets the tank down. Iron Man makes his way over to the two. The three heroes can see someone approaching. Superman's eyes widen as the person gets closer. No, it can't be. Superman says, nervous. The person stops in front of the three. Hello Cal, it's been too long, the person says. A tear falls from Superman's eye. I can't believe this. How are you back, Connor? Superman asks, giving him a hug. Superboy alive, now this is just strange. I heard rumors that he was killed by another Superboy, from another world. Spider-Man says, scratching his head. Iron Man is confused at the whole situation. Connor breaks the hug, as Iron Man takes another step forward. This sweet reunion crap will have to wait till later. Right now I want some answers. So kid, were you the one who fired off the nukes? Iron Man asks. Connor looks straight at Iron Man, as sweat falls from his face. Connor just sits there, not saying a thing. Connor begins to speak, but chokes and stops. Superman's face gets serious. Go ahead and answer his question, Connor. Superman breaks the silence. Connor is still silent, looking down at the ground. Well, let's hear it, cough it up, pal, Spidey adds. Connor finally looks up from the ground. No, it wasn't me. It's the guys that have my soul captive. You guys must go to the Mortal Kombat tournament and win. That is the only way my soul will be free, Connor tells. Iron Man, Superman, and Spider-Man show faces of disbelief. Spider-Man almost laughs. Connor yells out, saying it is the truth. The three men get serious again. Please, Father, you have to believe me. Be here tomorrow night, around 6 or 7, a portal to the world will be opened. And make sure to bring a few of the others. There are 10 spots still opened, so do choose wisely, Connor tells. Iron Man grabs Connor by his shirt, pulling his fist back to punch him. You're insane, kid, Iron Man almost yells. Before Iron Man can do anything, he is pulled back by Superman. Tony, just think for a second, he might be right. Connor, do you know what happened to the guys who fired off the missiles? Superman asks. Connor faces the Man of Steel. They can be found in the new planet. Really, the three of you should leave now. Get recruits, and come back tomorrow, Connor says. But Connor, there are so many unanswered questions. Like, how are you able to be here? Superman asks. Don't worry, Cal, everything will make sense soon. I don't have much time left here. You should go, I'll be okay. Just remember to be back tomorrow, Connor repeats. Don't worry, we will be back for you. Let's go, guys, Spider-Man says. Superman picks up Spider-Man and begins flying up. We will be back, Superman tells Connor. Iron Man joins Superman as they fly off. Once they are out of sight, Connor smiles. Not long after, he is laughing at the top of his lungs. Connor quickly reverts into Shang Tsung. Athena comes from behind a nearby tree with a smile on her face. She walks up next to Shang Tsung. That was amazing how easily the three of them were fooled. But why did you tell them there were only 10 spots left? Athena asks. The Mortal Kombat roster this year is full. 10 more participants is about all that I can fit. I just want to know how you know so much about the heroes of this world. For the reason that you have not encountered any of them before, Shang Tsung asks. Athena places her hand on Shang Tsung's shoulder. I told you that I have studied the superpowered heroes closely for the last few years, Pathina replies. When studying the many heroes, she saved herself a lot of time by completely ignoring the unpowered individuals, which would include anywhere from Batman to the Punisher. With that, she creates a portal. Both she and Shang Tsung step through, returning to his world. The three heroes fly over the Pacific Ocean. Iron Man breaks the silence between the three. I don't know about the two of you, but I don't believe that guy. No offense to you, Superman, Iron Man speaks. Superman is quiet for a second. You know, Tony, I'm going to have to agree with you. Not just that, but for some reason I don't believe that was really even Connor. There was something so strange about him, Superman says. Both Spidey and Iron Man are surprised by his response. But he's no idiot, that guy wasn't Superboy, but he decided to go along with it anyway. So maybe the guy seems a bit shady, but that doesn't mean he isn't Superboy, or isn't telling the truth. I say we should still check this out. He said something about a tournament. Hey Soups, you most definitely need to alert your bud Batman about this. He's like one of the best fighters/tacticians around. Tony and I will talk with a few of the Avengers. Spider-Man adds. Superman smiles at the mention of Batman. All right, I will do that. But we need to take this serious. Somehow I feel it might be a trap. Plus this should lead us to the ones responsible for, Superman replies. Agreed, but Spider-Man is right. This is something we must all look into, Iron Man says. The three fly back to New York where Spidey is dropped off. Soups informs them he will be returning to Metropolis for a little while, to do a few things. Worlds away, Sub-Zero runs through a forest, jumping over a few logs, scaring the many animals around. Sub-Zero comes to a stop, when three men stand in the way of his path. The Lin Kuei warrior turns around, to see three more guys behind him. Hello Sub-Zero, it is a pleasure to finally meet you. I'll cut right to the chase, our boss wants you dead. So that is what we have come here to do, a guy says. Who are you guys? Sub-Zero asks. We are assassins, another guy answers. The 6 men with black masks covering their faces run at Sub-Zero. One guy knees Sub-Zero in his rib, as another guy punches him in the face. Sub-Zero falls to the ground, he gets up quick, not showing any weakness. He can feel the pain in his side. Another guy throws a punch at him, but he grabs it. He twists the guy's arm and kicks him into the air. The assassin lands in swamp water. Sub-Zero freezes another assassin. He then kicks his body in half. Sub-Zero jumps high into the air, and as he comes down kicks 2 assassins to the ground. Another guy tries to attack him from behind. Sub-Zero throws him over his shoulder. He then snaps his neck. The 4 remaining assassins retreat. Cowards, I hate when they run, Sub-Zero says angrily. Sub-Zero runs off to continue his training exercise. Shaolin Temple Liu Kang sits at a table eating, while Kung Lao sits at a nearby couch reading a magazine. The only thing that can be heard is Liu Kang's spoon when it hits against the bowl. He drops his spoon, looking over at Kung Lao. Is something bothering you? For some reason you seem really tense, Liu Kang asks. Kung Lao looks up from his magazine. Everything is fine, I'm just doing something that can occupy my time, Kung Lao answers. His attention is again turned back to the magazine. Is that a way of getting the tournament off of your mind? Liu Kang asks. Kung Lao looks up from the article again, but this time annoyed. Why don't you just eat and shut up? To answer your question, I wasn't even thinking about the tourney, Kung Lao replies. Liu Kang picks up his spoon and continues to eat. Soon after Liu Kang finishes eating, and tosses his spoon and plate, he then exits the room. Portal opens next to Khan. Shao Kahn looks up from his chair to see Shang Tsung alongside Pathina enter the room from a portal. So how did everything go? Will they be attending the tournament? Khan asks. Yes, but only 10 of them. I'm just hoping the ones we actually need out of the way are the heroes to show up. I have a backup plan for those of them who do not show, Pathina tells. I am more than confident that they will all die in the tournament, but say they do succeed, what will we do then? Shao Kahn asks. Don't worry, I have a backup plan for that as well, Pathina says, smiling. Shang Tsung picks up an apple and starts eating it. You talk as if we should be worried about these meta-humans. Who we should have our focus on is Liu Kang and his group, Shang Tsung says. Pathina laughs at Shang Tsung's suggestion. Are you serious, the champion of Mortal Kombat? You have got to be joking. I still can't believe either of you were defeated by that low-class fighter, Pathina says. Both Shang Tsung and Khan are surprised. You must not know much about him, your ignorance will be your downfall. Liu Kang is not to be taken lightly. Shao Kahn says, standing up. Pathina walks up close to Kahn. He can feel her breath against his lips. When I am done with your little Liu Kong, he will be nothing but dust. Same goes for the rest of your Earthrealm heroes, Pathina says. She then walks from Shao Kahn and takes a seat in a nearby chair. She puts one of her legs over the other and crosses her arms. I'm hungry. Do you guys have anything good to eat? Pathina asks. Kahn looks at her. I will have something made for you. Later you will have the chance of meeting Prince Guro, Kahn tells. Worlds away, a few hours have passed. A number of Avenger members appear at a military site, standing before Tony Stark. Tony fixes his tie before he begins. I called a few of you here today, to help me get behind who launched the missiles earlier today. It turns out the guys who did it, are now on another planet. But they launched the missile from our planet, Tony tells. Whispers can be heard through the crowd, with disbelief. I know all of this can be a little hard to believe, but I need 2 more participants to go to this world to find them. Spider-Man, myself, and I spoke with Cap, who will be going. Did I mention 5 of the Justice League members will be joining us? Tony asks. The crowd goes silent right away. Carol steps forward. I will take part in this. It sounds like a serious matter, she says. Tony looks down at her and smiles. I'm glad you will be joining us, Ms. Marvel. We need 1 more member, Tony says aloud. Right away, Logan steps forward. I'll come, but I would like to know a little more about this mission, Logan says. Tony dismisses everyone except Ms. Marvel and Wolverine. The 2 follow the billionaire inside. Alright, now that the 2 of you will officially be joining us, I'll tell you all the details. We are actually entering a tournament. We must win to save the soul of Sup. Tony is cut off. Did you just say tournament? I thought this was important. Forget it, I drop out. You can call Mr. Banner to replace me, Carol yells. Tony puts his hands on her shoulders. Don't leave on us, let me explain further, Tony Stark says. He explains in detail to the 2 what happened earlier in the day. The 2 are silent, just looking at Tony. Tony pours them all something to drink. He hands them their glasses. So are we solid? Will the 2 of you join us in this mission? Tony asks. Both Carol and Logan reply with yes. Good, the 2 of you are dismissed. Make sure the 2 of you come suited up, tomorrow evening, Tony adds. With those last words, the 3 of them exit together. Watchtower. In the meeting room sits Superman, Flash, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Hawkman. The 6 Justice League members sit in silence. Flash looks at everyone, and then the ceiling. Wonder what this could be about. Hopefully it is a good mission. Oh, how he would love some action right now. Hey Soups, why don't you just tell us? Batman is probably busy, Flash says. Superman looks over at Batman's empty chair. He then gets up from his chair. Could you guys excuse me for a second? I'm going to see if I can get a hold of him, Superman says, leaving the room. Superman picks up a phone outside of the room. He dials a number. It rings a few times before being answered. Hello, who is this? A voice asks. It's Superman. Is Bruce around? Tim, Superman asks. Tim sits in the Batcave, suited up. Bruce is at a meeting, but I will give you his cell, Robin replies. Robin gives Superman the number, which he dials right away. He gets an answer quickly. Hey Bruce, it's Cal. I need you at the Watchtower. It's very important, Superman tells. I'm in the middle of a meeting right now. Why not just tell me what is going on? Bruce asks. Superman quickly explains to Bruce the events which happened earlier, which include the details of Connor and the tournament. His eyes widen a bit at what he is hearing. What in the world could all this mean? He feels as though he is in some action film hearing this news. It takes him some moments to take it all in. This sounds like a problem. I should be out of this meeting soon. I will most definitely attend this event. I'll then figure out what is really going on, Bruce says. The 2 say their goodbyes and hang up. Superman re-enters the meeting room, taking a seat back in his spot, relieved. If anything, they're gonna need Batman. There is no telling what they could be up against. If there is a puzzle to be solved, he's the man. Were you able to get in contact with him? Wonder Woman asks. Superman looks over at her. Yes, I was, and he has agreed to be part of this next mission, Superman replies. Superman clears his throat and tells the members in the room about what happened on the island earlier. Everyone's hearts speed up, with the mention of Connor Kent. He finishes up in the next 10 minutes. Batman and I will be traveling to this world. I need 3 of you to join us, Superman says. Flash is quick to raise his hand. I'm definitely in, Flash says excited. Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, and Hawkman look at each other. After a few seconds, Wonder Woman and Green Lantern volunteer. Superman gets up from his chair again. Alright, good, tomorrow night we meet here. I will then lead you all to the island, Superman says. He gets up from his chair and exits. Everyone in the meeting room is silent. Looking around, Flash taps a finger over the tabletop waiting. Wonder what's up, Superman is acting a bit strange. And what's with him leaving the room so much? He thought this was supposed to be a meeting. Hey guys, do you find it strange that Superman wanted to let Bats know about the mission before us all? I mean, come on, Black Canary should have at least been informed, Flash complains. He looks over at Hal, the Green Lantern, who smiles for whatever reason. Narrowing his eyes, Flash notices this, crossing his arms. What's so funny, are you smiling because you agree? Flash asks. If you want to know so much, why not ask him? Green Lantern suggests. No, it's not really a big deal, I was just curious. Flash replies, curious if they were given all the information. Superman re-enters the room with Black Canary. The two take a seat, with the official meeting beginning. Back on Earth a day later, hours have passed. Logan walks side by side with Rogue, down a street enjoying the fresh air. Sometimes it is nice to get out when it's not related to fighting against evil. I have one question for you, Logan. In the training room today, you seem to be putting more effort in than you usually do. Are you expecting something big to happen? Rogue asks. Logan doesn't look at her, but continues to walk with his head down. Putting his hands in his pockets, he looks up at the sun, which begins to set over the mountaintops. It's nothing for you to worry about, just myself and a few others. We are going after someone that is in a different world. I'm still a bit confused. Iron Man really didn't explain in detail, Logan tells. That sounds like fun. Were you recruited? Rogue says with a tone of sarcasm. A small smile forms on Logan's face. They walk in silence for a bit longer. So where exactly are you taking us? We have been walking for a long time now. Do you even have a destination in mind? Rogue asks. She gets no answer from him. Instead, he grabs her hand and leads her to a nearby ladder. The two of them climb all the way up to the top, where it leads to a rooftop. Logan and Rogue look down at the city together. Oh wow, this view is so beautiful. Rogue says, yes, I know, that is why I brought you here. I wanted you to see this. I come here to think about things sometimes, Logan replies. Rogue turns to look at Logan. The soft wind blows his hair back a bit. She moves closer to him, resting her head on his shoulder. His heart rate speeds up, from her sudden move. I don't know why you chose to bring me here, but I'm glad that you did, Rogue says. The two look down at the city, as the sun sets. A few hours pass and it is now dark. A group of ninjas break into a museum. They enter the security room and knock out the guards. One of the ninjas shuts off all the surveillance that is throughout the museum. With that done, the ninjas begin their search for a few objects. The ninjas come across many fossils and many paintings. So why exactly does the boss want us to take these objects? I don't see what is so beneficial about the 4 ancient swords and the ancient gold armor, one of the assassins asks. Another ninja turns to him. I'm not really sure if he has a reason for this, but as long as we do what he says, we will get paid, a ninja tells. The ninjas split into 2 groups. One group comes across the swords. They put the swords into a long metal box they carry. The other group of ninja blows down a few doors to get to the golden armor. Wow, would you look at that? I wonder how much it weighs, one guy asks. I have no idea, but let's take it and get out of this place. I have a bad feeling the police are going to show up, another guy replies. It takes about 7 of them to lift the armor off its stand. The men place the armor into a metal casket. They all carry it out of the room together. Within a few minutes, both groups of ninjas are putting the stuff into trucks. The boss will be proud with our accomplishments. I know he will like the paintings that we took as a bonus, one of the ninjas says happily. Too bad your boss will never see the stuff. I suggest you all return what you have taken. A voice from the shadows can be heard. The ninjas stop loading the stuff into the trucks and are looking to see where the voice came from. Hey guys, do you think it is the Batman? A ninja asks with wide eyes. It can't be him, we're not in Gotham, another ninja says. A man jumps from out of the shadows. You thugs should know that Bloodhaven has its own hero. That's right, me, the person says. Who in the hell are you? One ninja asks. You freaks must be new to this city. I'm Nightwing, he introduces himself. The ninjas pull out staffs and nunchucks, ready to fight the vigilante hero. Nightwing jumps high into the air, prefoaming a front flip. He lands in the middle of them all. They begin their attack on him. One ninja throws a kick at Nightwing, who grabs it and throws the ninja back by pushing on his leg. Nightwing roundhouse kicks another of them into a nearby truck, and elbows a ninja trying to attack him from behind. Nightwing disarms one of them of his staff. He swings and spins the bow staff around, knocking down the ninjas surrounding him. "What's happening, guys? It's all of you against me, shouldn't you be winning?" Nightwing asks with a smile. He jumps up and kicks two ninjas into a nearby wall. As he comes down, he knocks a few ninjas out with the staff. He quickly defeats the remaining ninjas. He ties them all up to a light post. "Well, that was easier than I thought. I guess it's time to inform the police about this," Nightwing says, pulling out his communicator. "I don't think that will be necessary, kid. You and I have a party to attend," someone nearby says. Nightwing looks up on top of one of the trucks to see a person standing, looking down at him. "No way, what are you doing here, Deathstroke? Wait, you're someone else," Nightwing concludes. "That is right, you can call me Deadpool. I'm impressed with your fighting skills, and how quickly you took out my men. Where did you learn how to fight like that?" "I actually recruited them from Family Dollar. But I can see your Walmart material," Deadpool asks. Nightwing scratches his head a bit. Did this guy for real just try and crack a joke? Okay, the next thing he needs is another joker. "I was trained by the best, so are you going to return everything, or suffer the same fate as your men?" Nightwing asks. A wind blows to the west. Both men are silent, staring each other down. Nightwing drops and kicks the staff out of the way. "I prefer to do things the hard way. This should be fun. I always love a good challenge," Deadpool says, jumping down in front of Nightwing. The two circle each other for a bit. Nightwing gets in his fighting stance, putting his hand up. He signals Deadpool to attack him. Deadpool runs at him, and the two begin fighting. Nightwing punches at Deadpool, but it is blocked by Deadpool's kick. Nightwing flips back before he is hit in the face. Deadpool grabs Nightwing by his chest gear, and punches him in the face. He falls to the ground, but flips up and uppercuts Deadpool onto a nearby car. Deadpool with much strength pulls the car door out. He throws it at Nightwing, who dodges it. "Man, what is this guy made of?" Nightwing says to himself. "You really are flexible and fast. Maybe you should join me," Deadpool suggests. "No, I don't think so," Nightwing replies, running toward Deadpool. As he reaches him, he jumps up and kicks him into the car that is missing a door on one side. The impact of the hit sends Deadpool crashing and breaking through the door on the other side. Deadpool is quick to get up, but feels dizzy. Nightwing jumps over the car to throw a punch at Deadpool, who grabs it. He takes this opportunity to slam his knee into Nightwing's stomach. Nightwing yells out in pain as blood comes out of his mouth. Deadpool throws Nightwing high into the air. He jumps up and kicks him into the fountain, in front of the museum. Nightwing is slow to get up. As he spits blood, he gets out of the fountain and runs at Deadpool. "So he hasn't given up, I'm impressed," Deadpool says to himself. As Nightwing gets closer to Deadpool, he jumps over him, grabbing his shoulders at the same time. He slams him into the ground. Nightwing steps back from Deadpool, but notices no movement from him. He turns around and pulls out his communicator to contact the police. A smile appears on Deadpool's face, under his mask. He picks up a nearby staff, and gets up slowly, being silent. He whacks Nightwing across the back of his head. The hero falls unconscious. Deadpool throws the staff to the ground. "Rule number 1, never turn your back to an enemy," Deadpool says, laughing. He walks over and cuts his ninjas loose. Deadpool has the ninjas put the remaining stuff in the trucks. Before they leave, Deadpool looks down at Nightwing. "I'm pretty sure we will meet again," Deadpool says. With that, they all get in the vehicles and drive off. Nightwing's eyes open to see them turn the corner. He gets up slowly, putting his hand on his head. "I should have known he was tricking me. They better hope our paths don't cross again," Nightwing says. The hero of Bloodhaven makes his way to the rooftops, looking down on the city. In the Batcave, Batman finishes typing something on the computer. Standing over him, Robin pays close attention to the information. Batman points up at the screen. "That is where Ralph and his men will be meeting. The east end of the docks," Batman tells. Batman gets out of the chair. He walks over to a table, with a bag on top of it. Inside the bag are a few batsuits, and regular clothes. Batman picks up the bag and throws it into the Batplane. "If you need help with the city while I'm away, just give a call," Batman says to Robin. "Yeah, I'll most likely do that." Robin replies. Batman jumps into the Batplane and blasts off out of the cave. Worlds away, Liu Kang and Kung Lao work out in the training room. Both men stop to take a break. I wonder why the tournament got delayed until tomorrow. I'm starting to think Shang Tsung is up to something again, Liu Kang says. Well, aren't you the smart one? Whenever is Shang Tsung not up to something? Kung Lao replies. Liu Kang walks over to a machine and lies on his back, lifting weights. As long as we are on full alert, we should be okay, Liu Kang says. Suddenly Kung Lao is thrown into a wall. Liu Kang looks up, to see no one. Kung Lao is kicked into a nearby machine. Liu Kang jumps up from the machine, and runs over to help Kung Lao. Liu is grabbed by his neck, and thrown into Kung Lao. What is going on? I don't see anyone. He must be using some kind of camouflage, Liu Kang guesses. With the press of a button on his belt, a ninja appears before Liu Kang and Kung Lao. You are correct, Liu Kang. I have come here to kill you. My boss wants nothing to do with you, Kung Lao. He just wants Liu dead. So I suggest you stay out of my way, the ninja demands. Both Liu and Kung Lao get off of the ground. Who is you, boss, and why does he want me dead? Liu Kang asks. My boss has his money on Ermac to win this tournament. He sent me to get rid of the competition. You're the champion of Mortal Kombat. We can't have you getting in the way, the ninja says, pulling out a long blade. Thinking fast, both Liu and Kung Lao punch him in the face at the same time. He falls to the ground knocked out. So what should we do with him? Liu asks. Kung Lao picks up the ninja and puts him over his shoulder. I'm going to take him outside the temple. I want you to alert the guards to increase security. There might be more of them where he came from, Kung Lao tells. Good idea, but hurry back, Liu Kang replies. Kung Lao walks out of the room with the ninja. Worlds away, on an island, Superman, Iron Man, and the rest of the heroes all gather at the island. All except Batman, who has not arrived yet. Each hero introduces him or herself to everyone. Flash runs around Ms. Marvel a little bit. If I weren't married, I would have taken you out on a date any day, Flash whispers in her ear. Ms. Marvel just blushes. Flash then runs over to Superman and Iron Man. You guys are positive this is the right island? I don't see any portal forming, Flash asks. Just give it a little bit more time, it should open soon, Superman replies. Wonder Woman sits on a big rock, next to Captain America as they talk with each other. Spider-Man, Green Lantern, and Wolverine just stare at the moon as they wait. Wonder Woman places her hand over Cap's. It must have been hard for you when you lost Rogers, so do you prefer to be called Cap, Bucky, or Captain America? Wonder Woman asks. You can just call me Cap. Rogers and I didn't really see eye to eye close to his assassination. Cap replies, looking into her blue eyes. The two stare for a bit before Captain America gets up to walk around. A loud noise can be heard in the night sky. Everyone looks up to see the Batplane approaching. It flies over the island, as Batman jumps out and glides down to the ground, with a bag around his shoulder. Good, Bats is here, Spidey says, walking over to greet him. The remaining heroes also make their way over to Batman. Superman introduces Batman to everyone who hadn't met him. So Batman, what happened to your flying vehicle? Wolverine asks. Batman turns to Wolverine and the two shake hands. I left it on autopilot, it will head back to the cave on its own, Batman replies. A few seconds pass and the wind speeds around the island increase greatly. Energy builds up in a specific spot and a portal forms. Last one in eats mud for dinner, Spider-Man says running. Flash zooms past Spidey into the portal. Spider-Man jumps in afterward. Wait, I can't believe they jumped in so quickly, we should have all talked this over first, Iron Man says. Batman walks past everyone. We can discuss everything later, Batman says entering the portal. Everyone else enters right after him, worlds away. The portal opens inside of a temple, it closes behind the heroes. They look around to see Pathina sitting in a chair. She gets up and approaches them. Hello fighters from another world, this is the temple you will stay in while you are here. The tournament will begin tomorrow, Pathina says, pretending she doesn't know any of them. What about Connor? Superman asks stepping forward. She doesn't answer him right away. I don't know who you're talking about. Maybe you will see that person at the tourney tomorrow, Pathina lies. Batman pulls Superman to the side, explaining to him not to ask questions and wait for tomorrow. Pathina hands Batman and Superman the directions to the tournament's location. She marked on the map the directions from the temple to the tournament dome. You all need to be there by 10 in the morning tomorrow. The brackets will be up, showing who you will be fighting first, after I enter your names in, Pathina tells. She asks them all for their names, even though she already knows them. She writes them down on a pad. She digs in her pocket, pulling out 4 keys. She again gives it to Superman and Batman, who stand in front of everyone. I could only get you all 4 rooms, so you can decide your own sleeping arrangements. The rooms are on the 7th floor. The room number is attached to the key, Pathina informs. With that, she exits the temple. Wonder Woman walks up to Batman and Superman, putting herself between them. So which one of you lucky boys want to share a room with me? Wonder Woman asks, smiling. Both Superman and Batman are surprised at her words. Iron Man steps forward. We will discuss that stuff when we get upstairs, Iron Man says. Wonder Woman walks from Batman and Superman, pressing the button to get the elevator. The group travels in 2 separate elevators. The group talks it over with Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Green Lantern sharing the first room. Iron Man and Flash take the second room, with Batman and Superman taking the 3-road. Ms. Marvel, Captain America, and Wonder Woman take the last. The heroes shut the doors behind them. Miles away, Baraka is surrounded by a group of Tarkatans on a field. They run and begin fighting him. He releases the blades from his arms fast, as do the Tarkatans. Baraka jumps over a few of them, kicking them to the ground. 2 Tarkatans come up to him and begin blade fighting. Baraka slashes one of them in the chest and then trips him, making him fall to the ground. Baraka blade sparks and blasts the other fighter to the ground. The remaining Tarkatans come at him fast. His hands come up as his blades go back into his arms. That will be enough for tonight. After all, the tournament is tomorrow, Baraka says. The Tarkatans on the ground get back up. Let's head back to the palace. I sure do hope Melina is there tomorrow. I'm going to rip that woman to pieces. Nobody crosses me and gets away with it, Baraka says. It seems our biggest threat as far as participants go, is Liu Kang and Kung Lao. Raiden's little boy scouts, a Tarkatan complains. Baraka turns and grabs the Tarkatan by his throat and throws him to the ground. I don't like when anyone thinks negatively. I will destroy Liu Kang. I've waited for a while. It's time for a new champion, Baraka yells. The Tarkatan picks himself up as the group continues to walk. They reach their destination quickly. Entering the castle, they spot Pathina sitting across from Shang Tsung and Khan talking. Who the hell is she, and why are you sitting in my chair? Baraka asks, yelling. Pathina looks up at the angered Baraka and smiles. She stands up. I guess we haven't met yet. I'm Pathina. I have a really good proposition for your boss here, Pathina says. Baraka looks over at Khan. Tell me you're not serious. We don't need help from a woman, Baraka says. He looks back at Pathina. Why don't you get lost, Pathina? Your presence makes me sick, Baraka says loud. Pathina zooms over and punches Baraka into a wall. Shao Kahn gets up smiling. She has many different powers, such as super speed and strength. Give her a chance, Baraka, plus you haven't even heard our plan yet. Khan tries to explain. Baraka pulls himself out of the wall. He dusts himself off from the back. I'll give you one chance. You screw up even once and you're a dead woman. I hope we got that clear, Baraka tells. Why don't you have a seat, Baraka? This might take a while, Khan says. Baraka walks over to his chair and sits down. Pathina and Khan sit down next to Shang Tsung. The Tarkatans in the room exit. Back at the temple, Carol aka Ms. Marvel gets out of the shower and wraps a towel around her. She walks over to the sink and brushes her teeth. Rubbing her hand over the mirror, she gets rid of the steam so she can get a clearer view of herself. Her heart jumps when she sees Batman standing behind her in the mirror. She turns around to slap him, but he grabs her hand. What the hell are you doing in here? Were you watching me take a shower? How long have you been in here? Carol asks, angered. Batman lets go of her hand. Don't worry, I got in here a little after you got out. I'm just letting you know I'm going to search around this floor, and a few others. I just want to make sure everything is safe, and this isn't some kind of ambush, Batman tells. Why are you telling me? Aren't you and Superman sharing a room? Carol asks. Yes, we are, but he is asleep. You're the only one who is up besides me. That is a good idea. By the way, I'm Carol. Who are you behind the masks? Carol asks with a smile. Batman is silent, just thinking for a few seconds. Maybe another time, Carol. You really should get some sleep, Batman replies. Batman then exits the bathroom, closing the door behind him. Carol looks down at the ground. They really should have had a bathroom in each room. Not 3 in the hallways on each floor, Carol says to herself. She thinks to herself, remembering she had locked the bathroom door. That raises one question: how did he get in? Pathina enters the castle and makes her way to the front room. She spots 2 Tarkatans playing cards at a nearby table. She makes her way over to a table where Shang Tsung sits alone thinking. She slams her fist on the table, sitting down in front of him. He looks up at her confused. What's wrong? Did something happen? Shang Tsung asks. There is no real problem, I'm just pissed that Batman and the guy in the iron suit showed up. They are pathetic and a waste of time. Their powers are the kind you can buy at a Walmart, Pathina says with much anger. Shang Tsung takes his hands out of his pockets and rests them on the table. I don't see what the big deal is. Won't the 2 of them be easily beaten? Shang Tsung asks. That is the whole point. We need to get rid of the threats. The 2 of them aren't real heroes. Plus I barely know anything about either of them. I only focused on the super-powered ones with real abilities. Pathina says, looking down at the table. You need to stop worrying. Everything will work out just fine. I'll speak with you later. I need to arrange the fighters on the brackets now, Shang Tsung tells. He gets up from the table and walks into a back room. The next morning Bucky's eyes open, and he looks at the clock which says 8:35 a.m. He sits up in the bed and yawns. He looks over at the other bed, to see Diana and Carol still asleep. He gets out of his bed slowly, trying not to wake the 2. He picks up the cap suit which lies next to the bed. He takes it with him, leaving the room in silence. He makes his way to one of the bathrooms in the hall. Inside of another room, Clark is up and getting out of bed. He walks over to the other bed where Bruce sleeps. Hey Bruce, wake up, it's time that we get ready, he says, tapping him on the shoulder. Bruce grunts at Clark, putting his face into the pillow. Come on Bruce, it's already after 8. We have to be there by 10 if you haven't forgotten, Clark says. Clark backs up as Bruce sits up, rubbing his eyes. Did you have a late night or something? Clark asks. Bruce gets out of the covers and sits on the edge of the bed. You know I do late hours, Cal. I had to be sure this place was safe, Bruce replies. Bruce walks over to a corner where his bag lays. He bends down, opens the bag, pulling out a batsuit and utility belt. He looks over at Cal. I'm going to take a quick shower, and when I get back you can go in, Bruce tells him. With that, Bruce puts on a pair of jeans over his boxer shorts and exits the room with his batsuit. Inside another room the TV is on. Tony Stark gets out of bed and gets into his iron suit. Wally pulls one of his rings out and zooms into his flash suit. Well, it looks like the 2 of us are ready to go. I wonder about the others. Even if Superboy isn't here, I think this tournament will be a lot of fun. I've always wanted to take on Spider-Man, Flash says. Tony smiles under his suit. Flash picks up the TV remote and changes the channel. He takes a second to look over at Iron Man. Don't you sweat a lot in that suit? I mean, come on, the weather in this place is hot, man, Flash asks. That is a good question. I programmed air conditioning inside of it. That was smart. Do you also have a heater for when it is cold? Flash asks. Tony smiles again under the iron. Yes, I did, he replies. I guess you have pretty much thought of everything, Flash adds. At a studio miles away, Johnny Cage enters with some papers. He walks past many camcorders that are on a set. He quickly spots the man he is looking for and makes his way that direction. Hello, Mr. Cage, so what do you have for me? Richie asks. Johnny hands him the papers that are in a huge envelope. The man goes through the papers for a little bit before saying anything. Well, Johnny, it looks like everything is here. Welcome aboard. Filming will start in the next few weeks. You can talk with Miss Chelsea over there, who will hook you up with your script, Richie tells. Johnny shakes hands with the man before heading that direction. She looks up from her desk and smiles at him. You must be Johnny Cage, Chelsea says, shaking his hand. Yes, I am. How long will it take for you to get the script for me? I have some place I really need to be, Johnny asks. She sits back, putting her legs on top of the table. I will have it printed out for you in about 30 minutes, she replies. Johnny looks down at his watch. How about I pick it up later, like maybe tonight? I really don't want to be late for this, Johnny asks. That will be okay. Do you mind if I ask where you are going? She asks. I'm going to the Mortal Kombat tournament, Johnny replies as he begins to walk off. I'll be routing for you, Chelsea says with a smile. Johnny exits the building to see a helicopter waiting for him. Jax and Sonia step out of the helicopter to greet him. How did the two of you know I was here? Johnny asks confused. We checked at your house first, and you weren't there, so this is the only other place you would be, Sonia says. This guy is one of the hosts for the tournament, he is going to take us to the island, Jax says pointing at the pilot in the helicopter. Okay, then let's not keep him waiting, Johnny says. The three of them get into the helicopter, not much longer and it is airborne, another hour passes. Inside the tournament dome Superman enters with the rest of the heroes behind him. Spider-Man eyes widen at the long lines. Man, just how many people are going to be in this tournament? This is getting better and better by the minute. Hopefully there will be a huge crowd watching as well. Spider-Man hopes. This must be the right place, Superman says. He turns to Batman and gives him the map. Batman folds it up and puts it in his utility belt. I guess this line is to sign in. It will be interesting to see who out of us all will be on the same bracket, Green Lantern says. Many minutes pass and they are now at the front of the line. A man in one of the booths hands Wolverine a pen. All you need to do is sign your name on the next available spot, the guy tells. Wolverine looks down on the paper and writes his name by the number 326. All right, you can head in, but take a left, the guy tells him. No problem, bub. Wolverine replies. He enters the main area. He is amazed at the sight of the ring. There is no top on the dome. The sun shines bright on the ring. Wolverine looks into the audience area to hear many screams and cheers. Wow, there must be over 5,000 people in the crowd. I think I am going to enjoy this tournament, Wolverine says to himself. Logan can feel himself getting nervous, but pumped up and ready to fight. Not long after the others are registered and join Wolverine. Both Spider-Man and Flash show their excitement. Come on guys, we need to go find the brackets, Flash says. I know, I'm anxious to see who I will be fighting, Spidey says in excitement. Wonder Woman looks far ahead and spots 4 wood boards with names on them. Let's go up that way, I think the brackets are posted up over there, Wonder Woman says, pointing. Flash zooms past everyone, with Spider-Man running behind him. Ms. Marvel shakes her head. I swear those two are acting like children, she says. The rest of the group catches up with them. I can't seem to find my name, there are so many on each board, Flash says scratching his head. I might be able to help, a voice from behind him says. Flash turns around to see a muscular man. Who are you? He asks. Oh sorry, my name is Liu Kang. You and your friends look to be new here. I like the costumes. I hope you all enjoy the Mortal Kombat tournament, Liu says. Flash walks over and shakes hands with him. It's always nice to see a new friendly face. I'm called the Flash, he introduces. Liu Kang walks in front of the brackets. He looks at it for a few moments. There you are. You are going against a guy called V-Imp, Liu tells Flash. The others stand behind the two. Thanks a lot, Liu, I really appreciate that, Flash says. No problem, I hope to see you around, Liu replies. He walks off and waves to them all. Green Lantern and the rest of the heroes move up to look at the brackets. Spider-Man finds everyone's name in the group. This is amazing, 4 brackets with 100 participants in each. So how it is looking, Bats, Soups, and Flash are in bracket 1. Wonder Woman, Cap, Ms. Marvel, and Iron Man in 2, with Green Lantern and Wolverine in 3. That is really cool. I basically get a free trip to the finals, with me being the only one in bracket 4 out of us, Spidey says in relief. Don't get too excited, Spider-Man. You don't know any of the fighters of this world, Captain America says. A man steps in the middle of the ring with a microphone. I'm glad you could all make it today. We are glad to present to you the Mortal Kombat tournament. Things will be a lot different this year. You as the audience can now place bets on who you think will win each match, he tells. The crowd goes wild with cheers and yelling. We also have a new transport system, which means the fighters have the choice of fighting here in the dome. Or they can choose to fight in another destination of their choosing. But with the huge energy window above me, you all will still be able to see them battle, the announcer tells. The crowd is even louder than before. Liu Kang and Kung Lao stand nearby watching. Wow, it really is different this year. But I won't perform any different, even with that many people watching, Kung Lao says cracking his knuckles. This is what we trained for. There are much more outsiders taking part this time. I still see myself in the final round, Liu Kang says stretching. We will see about that, Kung Lao says under his breath. Inside of a back room, Sub-Zero sits in silence. he can hear the roaring crowd outside. "Can I have everyone's attention?" the announcer says over the speaker. The crowd takes a bit before it calms down. "You all should thank Ms. Pathina for the new updates to the tournament. If it weren't for her, things would still be the same. Here she is, Pathina," he says, pointing at her as she enters the ring. The crowd cheers again. Pathina takes the microphone from the announcer and begins talking. Outside of the dome, a helicopter lands with Sonia, Jax, and Johnny getting out. They get out of the helicopter and head into the dome fast. Johnny is first to get to a booth. He used his ID to get to the front of the line. "How are you doing today, Mr. Cage?" the guy behind the booth asks. Johnny looks down the list and signs his name by 387. "I'm doing just fine," Johnny finally replies. Johnny then heads into the main area of the dome where Pathina is speaking. Jax and Sonia join him quickly. "Okay everyone, the Mortal Kombat tournament will begin shortly. Once we get all fighters in the waiting area, they will enter the ring when they are called up," Pathina tells. The crowd claps and cheers, awaiting the first fighters to enter the ring. The hosts of the tourney gather up the participants standing around and take them to the huge waiting area. Wolverine looks up to see the many TVs. "I guess that is how we will be able to watch each match while it isn't our turns," he says to himself. In another 30 minutes the fighters are all gathered in the waiting room. Shang Tsung steps into the ring as Pathina exits. "It is time, Mortal Kombat begins now. First up is Liu Kang vs. Blood Brawler," Shang Tsung says. The crowd is excited and loud. Liu Kang and his opponent make their way past the many fighters in the waiting room. Blood Brawler accidentally bumps into Reptile, who pushes him against a wall. "Watch where you are going, idiot," Reptile says. Blood Brawler ignores him and continues to walk. Both fighters enter the ring shortly. This gets the crowd really excited. Shang Tsung steps out of the ring with the announcer stepping back in. He holds the microphone. "So would the two of you like to battle right here in the dome, or take it somewhere else?" the announcer asks. The two just stare at each other, neither of them saying a word. Liu Kang finally speaks. "We will fight right here in the dome," he replies, not taking his eyes off of his opponent. The crowd gets loud again. The announcer exits the ring. Both fighters get in their fighting stances and back up a bit from each other. Everyone in the waiting room is tense, watching on the TVs who will strike first. Scorpion stands by a water fountain. "I hope Liu Kang kicks this guy's butt," Flash yells. A lot of people in the waiting room look over at Flash. Batman walks up behind him. "Do me a favor, Wally, just shut up," Batman whispers. Flash smiles and scratches his head. Everyone's attention is back on the screens in a few seconds. Blood Brawler pulls a chain out of his jacket with a blade on the end of it. He swings it around in place for a bit before throwing it forward. Liu jumps back and grabs the side of the blade. He pulls hard on it, pulling the chain out of his opponent's hands. He drops the chain, jumps up and bicycle kicks Blood Brawler to the ground. The crowd is loud and chanting Liu Kang's name. Blood Brawler gets up and throws a few punches at the champion, which are blocked. Liu knees him in the stomach and uppercuts him. The man lands on his back. Maybe this Liu Kang fighter deserves more credit than I gave him," Pathina says to herself, standing outside the ring. Blood Brawler is slow and dizzy to get up. Liu jumps up and knife hands him in the neck. He then roundhouse kicks him back down. Blood Brawler looks up at Liu one more time, before his eyes shut and he falls unconscious. Some of the audience get out of their seats to stand up and clap. The announcer steps back into the ring. "The winner of this match is Liu Kang," he tells. Liu waves at the audiences as he steps out of the ring and heads back for the waiting area. "I knew you would beat him quick, but I had no idea it would end that fast," Kung Lao says. Liu stops and stands next to the man. "Let's hope you are just as lucky," Liu says. He does not reply, but closes his eyes, standing in silence. A few more matches go by. "All right, now for the next match. It is Zudo vs. Spider-Man," the announcer says. When he heard his name get called, he shakes a bit. Batman notices this, but just sits back. "I guess that means you're the first to fight out of our group," Superman says. He pats Spidey on his back. "Wish me luck, guys," Spidey says. He makes his way past the fighters in the room. "Spider-Man, who goes by a lame name like that?" Cyrax says, as Spidey passes by. Peter just grins under his mask, and continues his way to the ring. Zudo gets in first, and awaits Spider-Man, who gets in a little while after. "So where would the two of you like to duke it out?" the announcer asks, putting the microphone between them both. We would like to take a look at the areas you have, Spidey says. Great, that will make you two the first today, the announcer says. Pathina steps into the ring. She has them both look up at the energy window. It goes through the many different areas. After doing that, she exits the ring. So which one will it be, boys? The announcer asks. Zudo doesn't say anything, just standing there. Spider-Man has a hard time picking one. But the crowd begins yelling the Lost Swamp. Spidey smiles at this. The Lost Swamp it is, Spider-Man tells. The announcer gets out of the ring. A huge light shines over both Spider-Man and Zudo. Within a flash of energy they are both gone. The audiences look up on the energy window, which shows a clear image of Spider-Man walking around in mud. The crowd is loud and excited. Inside the Lost Swamp, Spidey looks for Zudo. I wonder where he went. I hate hide and seek, Spidey says. He looks up to see the clouds covering the moon. He realizes there is a huge time difference in this world. As opposed to back in the dome area, he can hear frogs croaking, and insects. His spider sense goes off, and he jumps out of the way of a metal boomerang. He looks up in a nearby tree. Zudo looks down at him smiling. Are you going to come down, or am I going to have to come up there? Spidey asks. Zudo jumps down from the tree and almost slips when he lands in the mud. Spider-Man shoots out his web, and it sticks on Zudo's chest. Spider-Man pulls himself toward his opponent and kicks him into the mud. Zudo gets up and starts throwing punches at Spidey, who dodges them with his reflexes. He gets annoyed with this, picking up Spidey and throwing him into the swamp water. Spider-Man looks down at his wet, muddy suit. You just had to get my suit all wet and dirty. I think it's time we finish this, Spider-Man says, standing in the dark water. Zudo runs at Spider-Man and tackles him into the water. He digs his hand to the bottom and throws wet mud into the wall crawler's face. Spidey webs Zudo's arms together and kicks him off of him. Zudo breaks out of the web and the two begin fighting. Spider-Man trips over a rock and falls into the mud. Zudo places his foot on Spider-Man's chest, pulling out a large blade. I win, Spider-Boy, Zudo yells, about to stab the blade into his opponent. Just then a huge crocodile comes out of the swamp water and bites off Zudo's head. His body falls forward, with his blood shooting all over Spider-Man. The croc comes back and takes the rest of his body under. Spider-Man jumps out of the water and swings up into a tree with his web. What just happened? I have never seen a crocodile that big. Either those were some really good graphics, or my opponent just got eaten, Spidey says. In seconds a light shines over him, and he is brought back to the dome. The crowd is at its loudest. Spider-Man stands alone in the ring, covered in mud and blood. Everyone in the crowd jumps up and cheers. Shang Tsung enters the ring with the announcer. The announcer puts up Spider-Man's hand. Spider-Man wins, fatality. Shang Tsung says. No one in the waiting room believes what they just saw. Superman and Iron Man are wide-eyed. Spider-Man looks over at Shang Tsung. So does this mean people can die in this tourney? I didn't think it was going to be like this, Spider-Man asks. Yes, that is the way it is. You can be killed, or just beaten, Shang Tsung replies. Do you have an idea where I can go, to clean up a bit? Spider-Man asks. There is a bathroom on your way to the waiting area, Shang Tsung answers. Spidey thanks him and then heads out of the ring. He gets many cheers and waves at the people. In the waiting room, Captain America stands in a corner thinking. Wonder Woman walks up next to him. What's on your mind, Buck? She asks. He looks down at the ground, not making eye contact. I know where not to fight when it's my turn, Cap replies. Wonder Woman laughs a little at what he said. Batman walks over to the water fountain and gets a small drink. He and Scorpion catch glimpses. They stare at each other for a bit, until Batman finally walks off. A few of the hosts are cleaning the ring, getting rid of the mud and blood that dripped off of Spider-Man. Spidey returns to the waiting room, looking clean. He gets a few claps from a lot of the fighters. He makes his way over to his group. So how do you guys think I did? Spidey asks. Well, obviously you won, so you must have done something right, Ms. Marvel replies. You were awesome, Spider-Man. Couldn't have done it better myself. I was however surprised when that huge croc came out of nowhere, Green Lantern adds. Spider-Man talks with the group for a while, except Batman, who stands alone, and Wonder Woman, who is talking with Captain America. Another 2 hours pass. Many matches have gone by. And now we have Natara versus Batman. Come on out, you two, the announcer yells. Batman's eyes open at the sound of his name. He gets off the wall he leans on. Spider-Man and Superman walk over to the Dark Knight. Go show him what Batman can do, Superman says. Batman shakes his head. What's wrong? Superman asks. That was a bit lame, Batman replies. Good luck, Bats. Just remember brains beats muscle if you are outpowered, Spider-Man says. Thanks, I will remember that, Batman says. The Dark Knight walks past the fighters who sit around. He and Scorpion catch glimpses again, but this time he just keeps going. Spider-Man turns to Superman. Doesn't Natara sound like a girl? Spider-Man asks. Superman just looks at him. Let's just watch the fight, Superman says. Everyone's attention is on the TVs around. Batman enters the ring, and looks up to see his opponent fly down into the ring. She licks her lips at the sight of him. Wow, it is a woman. She has bat wings. Now that is funny, Superman says. Batman and Natara stare into each other's eyes. Batman stares into Natara's eyes through his lenses, with her looking back at him. She ends it by turning her head to the side and laughing. He raises an eyebrow behind the cowl, confused. Natara steps forward, walking around Batman a few times. He stays in place just looking at her. She finally comes to a stop in front of him. A man who dresses like a bat, she says, holding back a giggle. Batman does nothing but frowns. You are interesting. I can't wait to taste your blood, Natara says, showing her fangs. The announcer walks up, standing between Natara and Batman. She asks to look at the different areas. Pathina operates the energy window from outside of the ring. The two opponents look up at the screen, as she goes through the many different places. We will take this to the graveyard, Natara tells. The audiences clap and cheer as the announcer steps out of the ring. Back in the waiting area, Reptile stands around with a few others. This Batman guy is about to get his ass handed to him, he says. You got that right, this outsider's life ends today, Cyrax says, agreeing. Flash stands nearby and can hear the two. He shakes his head in disagreement. Flash makes his way over to Spider-Man and Superman, whose eyes are focused on the TV. The three of them watch together. The light shines over the two fighters, and they are transported to the graveyard. The two of them are surrounded by tombstones with much fog. She looks up to see the moon flapping her wings and flying into the air. She looks downward to try and find Batman. It is hard for her to see much of anything with the thick fog. Dead leaves fall from a nearby tree. She spots this swooping down. An object comes from behind her fast. She kicks off of the tree, jumping and flying into the air, dodging the batarang. She flies down in front of the Dark Knight, kicking him into a tombstone. Batman flips up, pulling out two batarangs. Are you some kind of vampire? Your reflexes are not normal, Batman asks. She does not answer, but jumps into the air and glides down in front of him. She attempts to scratch him, but he knocks her hand out of the way with a batarang. He punches her in the face and kicks her back. The ground area behind Batman begins to move. He turns around in time to see a skeleton pop out of the ground. Both Natara and Batman are surprised to see this. The skeleton grabs him by his cape and shoulder, swinging him around. In the waiting room, some fighters laugh as they watch. This is incredibly unexpected. It's funny that an outside interference could end the match, Wolverine says with crossed arms. Green Lantern stands next to him. I agree with you completely, but this match is not over yet, he says. The audience seems to roar as the skeleton throws Batman into Natara, who catches him. She slams her knee into his back and throws him into a nearby tree. The vampire takes this opportunity to fly into the air. She looks down to see the skeleton running at Batman. He throws a bat bomb at it, exploding him into pieces. A few seconds pass, and the bones put themselves back together. What in God's name? Batman says, surprised, with wide glowing eyes. Batman looks into the dark sky to see her flying. He pulls out his bat grappler and shoots it up. The wiring wraps around Natara's ankle, pulling him into the air. He presses a button on the grapple gun, pulling him closer to her. He jumps onto the top of her back. She flies all over the place and upside down to try and get rid of him. Batman holds on tight to her stomach. He moves up further. His hands find their way to her breasts. He realizes his mistake and lets go. Natara blushes with anger as one of her wings knocks him off of her back. He falls many feet down into the graveyard. Batman lies on his back, not getting up. Natara comes out of the sky, landing in front of him. I had no idea you were so much of a pervert, It seems you can't get up, such a pity. I guess I will finish you off now, Natara says, stepping forward. She sits down on top of him, pulling out her knife. She turns Batman's head to the side, looking down at his neck. She licks her lips, and brings her head down closer to his. I'm going to enjoy sucking you dry, she whispers in his ear. He turns his head to face hers, half a smile is on his face. Why don't you just wait 5 more seconds, Batman says. She sits up on him, but confused, he quickly pushes her off of him, and kicks her a few feet away, getting back on his feet. She is getting up to face him, but something explodes on her back. She blasts off fast into the air, crashing into a tombstone which knocks her out. Seconds after, zombies bust out of the ground and surround her. Batman grins, throwing a smoke bomb over at the zombies. He jumps in with his gas mask on, and takes down the zombies. He picks up Natara and grapples them out of the area. He sets her down behind a tree and stands next to her. A light shines over them both, and they are brought back to the tournament dome with a loud crowd. He then takes off his gas mask. Shang Tsung and the announcer enter the ring. The announcer puts up Batman's hand. Batman wins. Shang Tsung says. The paramedics come into the ring and put Natara onto a stretcher, leaving the ring with her. Batman gets a few cheers and boos. Shang Tsung walks up next to Batman. Next time when you are in battle, you must let your opponent die. You have shown weakness to the audience, Shang Tsung tells. Batman steps out of the ring, heading back to the waiting area. He passes Pathina on his way out, who rolls her eyes at him. He does not notice it, and continues to walk. Superman walks over to Wonder Woman and Captain America, who are laughing. Hey Diana, did you watch Batman's match? He was great, Superman asks. Wonder Woman puts her hand up, waving at him, indicating to talk to her later. Not now, Cal, she says, still laughing a bit with her hand on Cap's shoulder. Superman makes his way over to Green Lantern and Ms. Marvel. As Batman re-enters the waiting area, many whispers can be heard. What a dummy, he wouldn't let them just tear her body apart, Darius says. He just ignores the rude comments and continues to walk forward. He looks over at Scorpion, who looks back at him. It ends as quickly as it started, with Batman walking off. Spider-Man and Iron Man approach the Dark Knight. You did awesome, Bats. That is great. She didn't notice you placed the bomb on her. Even I didn't know you did that, until the bomb went off, Spider-Man tells. Batman stands up against a wall. I do have a question for you, Batman. Why didn't you just let that rotten Natara die? Iron Man asks. Batman looks up from the ground, but not at Iron Man. There is one thing the both of you should know about me. I don't kill, and I won't stand by and watch anyone die. The day that happens is the day I hang up the cape and cowl, Batman tells. Both Iron Man and Spider-Man stand on the wall next to Batman, looking up at the TV as the announcer begins to speak. The next match is Kira versus Superman. You two may enter the ring at this time, the announcer tells. Batman, Spider-Man, and Iron Man are very surprised. Spidey looks at both Iron Man and Bats. Now this is just freaking strange. You and Superman's matches back to back. They must have set this up or something, Spider-Man complains. Supes walks up their way, heading for the exit. Spider-Man steps in front of him, resting his hand on his shoulder. Alright, big guy, go show her why they call you the Man of Steel, Spidey says. Superman smiles at Spider-Man, and continues to walk, waving at Batman and Iron Man, who stand against a wall. Kira waits in the ring, to see Superman flying up high and landing in the ring. The crowd is really excited to see a different type of fighter, like Superman in the ring. The announcer walks up to the two. So where would the two of you like to fight today? He asks. We will do it here in the ring, sir, Superman replies. The announcer steps out of the ring with Shang Tsung. Kira gets in her fighting stance, backing up from the Kryptonian. She looks at him from head to toe. She smiles a bit, at him standing up straight and stiff. Are you sure you're Superman? You seem more like Gay Man to me, Kira says, laughing. Superman looks down at her, but he does not show a face of anger. Excuse me, what is it you just said? Superman asks, already knowing what she said. Do you need to clean the wax out of your ears, Gay Man? I know you heard me that time. Just look at the way you dress, it's pitiful, Kira replies. Why don't we get this show started? Superman says as he smiles. She pulls out 2 blades and runs at the last son of Krypton. She swings her blade at him, but he zooms behind her in less than a second. Some of the people in the audience stand up and clap. What the hell? How did he move that fast? A guy in the audience yells, clapping at the same time. Athena walks up next to Shang Tsung. You see now why I say your Earth Realm heroes are nothing to me. It is heroes like Superman who we need to worry about, Athena tells him. Shang Tsung doesn't reply but continues to watch the match. Kira backkicks, but he zooms in front of her before her leg even extends out the full way. He knocks her to the ground with a slight push. Some of the audience laughs at Kira. She drops her blades, and gets up to try and punch him. He runs circles around her, as she throws kicks and punches at him. She eventually stops, falling to her knees out of breath. He stands in front of her with a smile on his face. She looks up at him, with fear in her eyes. Are you done playing around? Superman asks in a nice tone. The crowd is loud, with many talking amongst each other. As soon as the voting booths open, I'm putting 5,000 on this Superman guy. I have not seen a fighter yet who compares with him, a guy says, in his seat. You got that right. When I first came here, I had my mind set that the champion Lou would win. But Superman will literally destroy him. I'm betting everyone will put their money on this guy. I'm going to put down 200,000 on Superman, the guy next to him replies. Back in the ring, Kira throws a punch at Supes which he grabs. He cracks her knuckles with his strong grip. She yells out in pain, falling to her knees. Supes grabs her arm, and flies them both into the air. He throws her down fast. She crashes into the ring knocked out. Both the announcer and Shang Tsung are surprised. Athena smiles at their facial expressions. The two of them enter the ring. The winner is Superman, the announcer shouts. The crowd chants Superman's name as he flies out of the ring. Inside the waiting room, fighters discuss the match. How the heck is anyone in this room going to be able to beat that guy? He has super strength and speed like I've never seen before, a fighter yells, punching a wall. Many others in the room agree with him. This tournament is beginning to get really pointless. That man in the red underwear is too damn strong, Rain yells in agreement. Superman walks into the waiting room, and everything becomes dead silent. He walks over to Batman, Iron Man, and Spider-Man. Some people stare at him. You were awesome, Supes. I know you could have taken her out in a second, but where would be the fun in that? Spider-Man says. Ms. Marvel walks up to Wonder Woman and Cap. Sorry to interrupt your conversation, but did the two of you see how quick Superman's match went by? She asks. Diana turns around to face Ms. Marvel. Captain America has his focus on her as well. Superman already fought. I guess we missed it. He did win, right? Wonder Woman asks. He was toying with his combatant, but he won easily. Shouldn't the two of you be focusing on your upcoming matches, and not each other? Ms. Marvel asks. Are you jealous? We are focused. Sitting around and watching so many different people fight can get boring, Wonder Woman replies. Ms. Marvel backs up a bit, putting her hands on her waists. The announcer calls up the next two fighters who will fight in the ring. Jealous? Are you serious? To let you know I'm not even into Cap, he is a friend figure to me. It's okay that the two of you talk, but just remember to stay focused, Ms. Marvel tells. Wonder Woman looks away from Ms. Marvel and over at Captain America. I will be back in a minute. I'm going to congratulate Superman, Wonder Woman says, walking off. Ms. Marvel looks at Cap, who is smiling. You feel something for her, don't you? She asks, crossing her arms. Maybe there is a little something between us, but it is just a close friendship, Captain America replies. Yeah, right, whatever you say then, she adds, walking off. Wonder Woman stops in front of Superman. I heard you won your first match, good job. So what are you going to do about Connor? Wonder Woman asks. If that was really Connor, we have to win this tournament to save him. So our focus is to win as much as we can, Superman tells. You're the only one who has fought out of us. Hopefully we all come out with wins, Wonder Woman says. Superman puts his hand on his head and gasps. What is it? Did I say something wrong? She asks. He removes his hand, looking down at her. I told you that Batman had won his match, and so did Spider-Man earlier, Superman tells. Wonder Woman steps back, with her mouth opened a bit. She looks away from Cal and down at her red boots. Oh, I'm sorry about earlier. We just had a good conversation going. You know how that goes. Anyway, where is Batman? Wonder Woman asks. I'm not sure. He went off somewhere with two of the others, Superman replies. In a corner of the waiting room, Flash, Liu Kang, Batman, Kung Lao, and Spider-Man sit at a table with a few other participants talking. The men drink iced Pepsi. At the table, each person discusses some of their past fighting experiences. Liu Kang is up to talk. When I began my training, it was in the Shalian temple. Both Kung Lao and I are Shalian monk fighters, Liu Kong tells. That was so cool, your life story was pretty interesting. I'm just confused on the part why Khan wanted a rematch against you, after you had beaten him. But I guess that is how all bad guys are, Flash says. I can't wait to see you fight, especially since you conclude that you're the fastest man alive. I doubt you're faster than the guy in the red cape, Kung Lao says, taking another sip of his drink. Just wait and see, Soups can't keep up with me any day, Flash says, sitting back in his chair. The guys are quite at the table, looking up at the TV to see that Sector won the match. Spider-Man taps Batman on the shoulder. It looks like you're up, Bats, let's hear it, he says. Most fighters at the table want to know why he dresses like a bat. He does not want to share the beginning of his origin with anyone, so he declines. I will start off with my first night of patrol, Batman tells. Everyone at the table is interested in listening. Sonya and Jax sit down next to Lou, not knowing what is going on. Another 30 minutes goes by, with a few more matches. The announcer stands in the middle of the ring. This should be an interesting one, Sub-Zero versus Killer Rampage. You two may enter the ring at this time. Sub-Zero and his opponent are quick to get into the ring. The two agree to look at the different areas, so Athena goes through them. The pyramid looks promising. It's a great place for me to rampage on this, Sub-Zero, Killer Rampage says, getting in the ninja's face. Shang Tsung exits the ring. The two are then transported to the pyramid. Sub-Zero stands on an upper part of it, looking down at his opponent. Both fighters realize the steepness of the pyramid. A few miles away, a sandstorm is headed to their location. Why don't we begin, Blue Ninja? He says. Sub-Zero jumps up a bit, sliding down and kicking into Killer Rampage, who tumbles to the ground, rolling down a few times before catching himself. Sub-Zero shoots an ice ball at him, but he dodges it, sliding across the surface. Killer Rampage runs at him, grabbing him by his head and slamming him down onto the surface. It breaks open with Sub-Zero falling through. Killer Rampage jumps in as well. Sub-Zero lands on a platform, and so does Killer Rampage. Both fighters look up to check out their surroundings. They can see small Egyptian paintings across the walls. Let's continue, Ninja. I don't think we should keep the audience waiting. Your death is a certainty, he says. Sub-Zero does not look at him. He looks down from the platform. He can see sinking sand down at the bottom. How dare you ignore me, fool, he says, jumping at Sub-Zero. He throws a punch at Sub-Zero which is blocked, and the Lin Kuei fighter knife hands him across the neck. Killer Rampage steps back holding his neck and coughing. Sub-Zero runs over and uppercuts him onto another platform. He also jumps over, looking down at him. He gets up still holding his neck, trying to punch Sub-Zero with his other arm. Sub grabs it, twisting his arm and throwing him back down to the ground. Killer Rampage spits blood. You're going to regret you stepped into the ring with me. No one humiliates me like this, he tells. Sub-Zero just elbows him on the neck, and then kicks him in the stomach. Killer Rampage rolls over on his back in pain. For the record, I know 300 ways to kill a man. Why does one talk so much while fighting? You should learn to shut your mouth sometimes, Sub-Zero says. Killer Rampage's heart rate speeds up, at the mention of how many ways he knows to kill someone. Snakes hiss at the bottom, near the sinking sand. He gets back up and continues his attack on Sub-Zero. All of his attacks are blocked, and Sub-Zero swings his arm around punching him in the face. The hit knocks Killer Rampage out, who falls off of the platform into the sinking sand. The audience cheers loud. Sub-Zero is quickly brought back to the dome. Shang Tsung and the announcer enter. Sub-Zero wins, Shang Tsung says in the microphone. The Lin Kuei warrior gets many cheers when exiting the ring. He heads back to the waiting area like the many fighters before him. Wolverine and Green Lantern stand by a soda machine. Sub-Zero seems to be a good fighter. I will be sure to observe him closely with each of his matches. With that ring of yours, you probably don't have to worry about losing too much of anyone, Wolverine says. Green Lantern lightly punches Logan on his arm. I know you can hold your own as well. Plus some of these guys that we have seen fight and win today don't look like much. You'll do just fine, Wolverine, Green Lantern adds. The two of them look up at the TV to see hosts cleaning the ring for the next match. Superman and Iron Man walk down a hallway, heading to one of the gift shops. I hope we didn't travel to this world for nothing. Don't you think we should start investigating a little bit? Iron Man asks. If we are going to do anything like that, it will have to be after nightfall. We will leave it to Batman. He is good at sneaking around and getting information. Plus we don't even know who the guys are who have Connor, or if that was him. Superman replies. Iron Man and Superman walk into a shop with electronics and many other things. The guy behind the front counter smiles at the two costumers. If the two of you need help on looking for something, just let me know, he says. We are just looking, not for anything particular, Superman replies. Hey, you're Superman. I saw your match a little while ago, man, you were awesome. I know you will most definitely win the whole thing. That is also what a lot of costumers said that have come through this shop, he tells. Superman stops in place, looking back at the guy. Thanks a lot, I will put in all my effort, but do know there are fighters here that can give me a run for my money, Superman says. Yeah, right, I highly doubt that. Just remember I can help you if you can't find something, he replies. Superman smiles at the man before catching up with Iron Man, who is looking at some music stereos. I might buy one of these. It would be nice to listen to some music tonight, back at the temple, Iron Man says. Superman looks over at a tournament flyer that is on a comic rack. He picks it up and reads it. It looks like all of round 1 will be today. Round 2 matches don't start until tomorrow. I guess that means Spider-Man, Batman, and I don't have to fight again today, Superman says. I just hope they take the money from our world, in this one, Iron Man says, looking at the prices. The announcer steps back into the ring, and now for our next match, we have Melina versus Wolverine, he tells. Wolverine stands next to GL in the waiting room. His bloodstream is pumped and he is ready to fight. Go get her, and don't forget to put in your best effort, but most importantly, have fun, Green Lantern says. Wolverine smiles. Don't worry, bub, I will, he replies. Superman and Iron Man exit the shop quickly, after hearing Wolverine's name being called. He is the first one to enter the ring, jumping in and releasing the blades from his knuckles. The crowd cheers and applauses. I'm going to tear her limb from limb, he says. Wolverine turns around to see her entering the ring, his eyes widen. Hot damn, she is why beautiful, Wolverine says to himself. He looks down at her legs and makes his way up. Melina walks in front of him, pulling out her size. Melina stands in front of Wolverine spinning a sigh. He just looks back and forth between her and the roaring crowd. Captain America and everyone in the waiting room watch, except for a few who just sit around talking. The announcer as usual walks up to the two participants. Where will the two of you fight? How about giving our audiences something we haven't seen yet, the announcer suggests. Wolverine thinks to himself, trying to remember the many arenas that he saw on screen beforehand. He smiles with a decision made. The Great Farm looks promising, he replies. The crowd claps and cheers. Within moments the two of them are transported to the chosen area. Melina stands on the open caged field, looking at a few horses galloping. She checks out her surroundings, also spotting cows that chew on grass. Melina sniffs the air, but cannot pick up his scent. The Avenger, X-Men walks inside of the farmhouse. He bends down petting one of the pigs, who just squeals. He looks around to see many other caged animals, such as buffalo and llamas. This place is not like a farm, it's more of a zoo, he says to himself. He exits the farmhouse with caution, looking out to see a field with horses and cows. He walks onto the field, sniffing the air as well. Logan picks up many different scents. A horse comes galloping at him fast, with Melina on top of it. Let's do this, bub, he says, with his blades blasting out of his knuckles. He jumps up high, landing onto the horse next to her. Wolverine pulls them both off the animal, with them tumbling to the ground. She is first to get up, ready to attack. He jumps back, putting space between them. It's such a shame a mortal like you had to face me first. I am Melina, the leader of a Tarkatan army. You had better enjoy every moment of your life, little man, because it ends now. She yells, ready to attack him. First off, I am not a mortal, I'm a mutant, and second, I'm not the one who is going to die, he replies. The two of them run at each other, with their blades colliding. She knees him close to his private area, his eyes water up as the reaction. He slashes her in the chest with his claws. As her blood flies out, she stabs one sai into his shoulder, and another one into his left rib. She kicks him to the ground afterwards. She rests her boot on his chest, pulling the sai out of his shoulder. She stabs it straight into his heart. A laugh escapes from her mouth. The crowd goes wild back in the stadium, with some people jumping out of their seats. Flash stands up from his seat, shocked. I can't believe it, he lost. How is this happening? Not only did he lose, but she killed him, Flash yells, slamming his fist on the table. A lot of fighters' attention is now on Flash, who turns his face to a wall. Batman gets out of his chair, walking up next to him. "Don't be upset, Wally, I'm betting this match isn't over," he whispers. Wally turns to Batman with a face of disbelief. "You know what I think, Bats. I think you have been in your dark cave a little bit too long." She stabbed a blade into his heart. "It's over, I'll even put 20.00 on it," Flash says. Batman smiles, shaking his hand. They both sit down afterwards. Flash right away puts his hand out for his money. Melina pulls both Say out of Wolverine, stepping back, looking down at his apparent dead body. About to walk away from him, she notices something strange. The areas of his wounds begin to move. She realizes his body is regenerating. He jumps back on his feet to face her. At this moment, Batman puts his hand out in front of the Flash. "Don't tell me that you actually thought I was dead. Someone like me can't be beaten that easily," he tells. Wolverine jumps over Melina, kicking her in the back of the head. She holds her balance, not letting herself fall. She throws both her Say at him, as if a projectile. He spins around, dodging both blades, running into her with his blades stabbing into her stomach and chest. He pulls them out, and watches her fall to the ground. She holds her stomach, as a good amount of blood gushes out. "You may have defeated me this time, but there will be a next time," she says. The part Tarkatan lays in a puddle of dripping blood as her eyes close. She finally dies. Wolverine shows no emotion on his face. He is brought back to the dome to a loud crowd. Flash pouts but is glad Wolverine won as he hands his cash over to the Dark Knight. He puts it into his utility belt. The announcer and Shang Tsung already stand in the ring. "The winner is Wolverine, fatality," Shang Tsung says. Wolverine quickly steps out of the ring, heading back to the waiting area. Worlds away, Ralph Boers and his men gather at the docks. The sun shines bright over the city of Gotham. Many men in black suits stand around. Ralph steps forward, shaking hands with another man. "I'm glad you could make it, Bernard. This deal must go through right now. So do you have all the weapons?" Ralph asks. Bernard puts his sunglasses on while smiling. He snaps his finger, and some of his men bring a few of the weapons out of the surrounding vehicles. The weapons are located in steel suitcases. "I've got your money. Let's do this quick before trouble shows up," he replies. A flying object comes out from a corner, knocking one of the cases out of the mobster's hands. The men look around to see Robin jumping off of a wall. The men pull out their guns, shooting at him. He blocks a few of the bullets with his cape. He knocks a few of the thugs to the ground. "Don't just stand there, boys, get the damn bird boy," Ralph yells. Robin knife hands a guy on the neck, who coughs blood. He kicks and throws a few of them into the Gotham Lake. Bernard pulls out a chain, swinging it. Robin dodges it. He roundhouse kicks and uppercuts the mob boss into a nearby truck. He throws bird wiring around the legs of Ralph, who tries to run. He falls down hard, as the boy wonder pulls him back. "Do yourself and your pals a favor, keep your activities out of Gotham," he tells. Robin ties them up, leaving a legitimate call to the police. He returns to the Batcave, undressing, and heading up to the manor. Tim heads into the kitchen, wetting a rag. He puts it over a bruise on his arm. He walks into the main dining room, turning on the TV. In latest news, the reporter Lois Lane is missing. She was last seen at Arkin's manufacturing company building, a newsman tells. Tim watches, rubbing the wet rag over his arm. He thinks to himself, knowing that the crime rate in Gotham has been increasing as of late. He pulls a small phone book out of his pocket. The two first numbers he spots are that of Stephanie Brown and Grayson. He puts the book back into his pocket. "I think I should be able to handle this myself. If something ever happens to Batman, it will be up to me to carry on his heroics. Robin can handle Gotham for a little while," he concludes. Tim sits back on the couch and relaxes, because when nightfall hits it will be time to work. Back in the city of Bloodhaven, a ninja stands in the middle of a room. The room is filled with many different weapons from all around the world, with ancient suits of armor. "Let's begin. I will have a prize for the one who can take me down." Deadpool is the ninja who stands in the middle of the room, surrounded by 5 of his own ninjas. 3 of them run in and try and attack him at the same time. They throw kicks and punches at him, which he blocks, sliding to the ground. He leg grabs one of them, tossing them over and into a wall. He elbows and neck grabs 2 other ninjas, slamming one of them onto the cement floor. Deadpool quickly defeats the rest of them. "You've got to be kidding me, right? No wonder that Nightwing Punk defeated you all so quickly. You fight like pussy cats," Deadpool says, laughing out loud. A few of his ninjas look at him with questionable faces, because of the joke he just cracked. Deadpool walks over to one of the displays, rubbing his hand against one of the blades of a sword. There are just a few more things we need out of this city before we leave. If that winged vigilante shows up again, don't disappoint me, boys, he says. Deadpool pulls out a sword from its holder. He performs a full kata using it. His ninjas watch him as he performs many different advanced moves. Deadpool jumps up, kicking a sandbag off of its chain that holds it up. I'm not trying to change the plans or anything, but can't we find what we're looking for in another city? Like how about New York? One of the ninjas asks. Deadpool throws the sword into a dartboard. It sticks right into the middle. Some of the ninjas' eyes widen at his accuracy. Deadpool turns to face them. The precise things I seek can only be found in this city. Don't tell me you're afraid of the knight with wings, Deadpool says, again laughing. The ninjas are quite not saying a word. Deadpool exits right afterward. Worlds away, Iron Man has just finished his match and blasts out of the ring, waving to the cheering crowd. Kenshi and Superman have just introduced themselves to each other. 10 others, including myself, have come from our home planet to take part in this tourney. Our reasons for coming is a bit strange. It's nothing you really need to know about, Supes tells. Kenshi listens to Superman talk for a bit before he says anything. I'm a blind fighter. I have been this way for longer than I can remember. I'm used to being in the darkness, although it would be nice to see the beautiful colors of the world, he tells. Superman looks over at the blind man, almost feeling sorry for him. Pathina walks into a dark back room, turning on a light to see Khan sitting at a desk. He looks up at her as she looks back at him, with a confused face. I don't even want to know what you were doing in the dark. Everything seems to be going the way I planned. Each hero that has fought from the other world, they have won their matches, Pathina tells. So will the plans remain the same? The winner of the tournament will fight Shang Tsung? Shao Kahn asks. Pathina walks toward Khan, sitting herself on top of the desk he sits at. She puts her hand on his chin, bringing his face up to hers. You know, babe, I think you should be the one they face in the final round. You're such a powerful man, she says, bringing her lips to his. Khan pulls back, standing up out of the chair. She looks up at him, confused yet again. You're a very beautiful girl, but no woman can seduce me. If that is what you want, I will fight against the winner of the final round, he replies. She sits up straight on the desk, just looking at him for a few seconds. When the time comes, I will have to enhance your strength and abilities. Superman will be the person you will fight. There is no one among them all who can defeat him, she tells. He turns his head away from her. Once again, you have underestimated the other fighters. Very well, I will be prepared for this Man of Steel. That is what they call him, right? He asks. Pathina replies by nodding her head. The two of them can hear the roaring crowd outside of the room. Ms. Marvel swings and throws her opponent out of the ring. Shang Tsung and the announcer are quick to get in, announcing her as the winner. She enters the waiting area shortly afterwards. Nice job, Ms. Marvel. I didn't know you could change your body molecules like that. She looks over to see Superman standing up against a wall with his arms crossed. She stands next to the Kryptonian. Thanks, it means something coming from you. Why don't we gather up those of us who have fought, and go out to eat somewhere? I don't know about you, big guy, but I don't think I want to hang in this place all day, she suggests. Supes puts his arm around her. If we are going to go anywhere, we should wait until everyone from our group has fought. It shouldn't be too much longer, he says. Supes takes his arm from around her, and walks into the crowd of fighters. He spots Flash and Batman sitting at a table, talking with Liu Kang and a few others. Superman takes a seat across from Sonya. Wolverine and Green Lantern sit at a table playing cards with some other fighters. Next match is Hazel Flame versus Reptile. Hurry in, you two, the announcer speaks. Reptile cracks his knuckles. It's about time. I don't think I could have waited any longer, he says. Reptile jumps into the air, doing a front flip over a lot of participants. Hazel Flame awaits him in the ring. Reptile is quick to request the match take place in the dome. With that, he and his opponent are left alone to face off. So now there is a green ninja. There are way too many participants dressed as ninjas. You should have come up with a better idea, bud, Hazel Flame tells. Reptile just smirks at his comment. The lizard ninja is quick to begin, as he jumps up and punches his opponent across the ring. Hazel Flame pulls out a two-sided staff blade, using it to keep him from falling. I see you've got a little quickness to yourself, ninja, but they don't call me Flame for nothing. He ties the staff onto his back, as his hands heat up. Both his arms are now in burning flames. Reptile is a bit surprised at this technique, but nowhere near afraid. He throws and shoots fireballs at Reptile, who runs back and forth in an attempt to dodge them. Not too long, one side of the ring is on fire. Reptile makes his way over to the safe side. "You had better keep moving, boy, or you will be burned alive." He shoots a few more fireballs at him, but this time one of them hits Reptile right into the chest. The ninja ends up on his back. Hazel Flame takes this opportunity to shoot as many fireballs onto Reptile as he can. He sits there as the whole arena is now covered in flames. The audiences cheer loud. "I win," Hazel Flame says, smiling. Movement can be seen throughout the flames, as Reptile jumps up high into the air on fire. He lands in front of Hazel Flame, throwing punches and kicks onto him. Reptile brutally beats him, knocking him out with a punch, as a tooth is knocked out of his mouth. Water hoses come from each direction, getting rid of all the fire. Reptile stands in the ring soaking wet, with his defeated opponent. The crowd is loud as the smoke clears. "Winner Reptile," Shang Tsung says. Reptile steps out of the ring with his half-burnt gear. "I'm definitely going to change suits, this one is basically destroyed," he says to himself. Reptile does not return to the waiting area, but to the locker he bought. He pulls out a different suit and changes into it. A few more matches go by. Our next match is V-Imp versus the Flash. Batman turns to him, but only to look up at the TV, to see that he is already in the ring. Kung Lao's eyes are wide, at how he just seemingly disappeared. Superman just smiles. V-Imp walks into the ring to see a smiling Flash. "What's up with the tights, man? This isn't exactly a Halloween party," V-Imp tells. Flash turns to Shang Tsung and the announcer. "We will take care of this match, right here, inside of the dome. Try not to blink, guys, it will be over that fast," Flash tells with much confidence. V-Imp shows a face of anger. The two of them exit the ring, as Flash turns to his opponent. "Alright fella, I'm going to end this quick. This will prove to everyone who is the best around here," Flash tells. V-Imp has had enough. Tightening up his fist, he runs at him, throwing a punch. Flash runs around him 5 times before his fist fully extends. V-Imp jumps back a bit afraid, as Flash runs around him with great speed, throwing in many punches. V-Imp is quickly knocked out. Everyone in the audiences jumps out of their seats, throwing up stuff. This is the loudest they have been all day. Even Shang Tsung and the announcer are at a loss of words for his performance. "Thank you everyone, thank you, you're all the best," Flash says, bowing down a few times. "Damn, this is going to be a hard one. This guy is just as fast, if not faster than that guy in the red cape earlier. I don't know who to put my money down on," a guy in the audience says. "It looks like Superman has competition after all. I thought this whole thing would be a blowout for him. I'm still putting 15,000 on Superman. I didn't see this guy fly," another man tells. Everyone is excited in the audience, discussing Flash. Shang Tsung and the announcer are now in the ring. Flash zooms toward them both, giving them both speedy handshakes. "Flash wins, flawless victory," Shang Tsung says through the microphone. This gets the crowd even more pumped up. A huge amount of the crowd chants his name. Flash runs around the ring a few times in less than a second, showing off. Now everyone in the crowd chants his name. He stops in front of the two men. "So overall, how do you guys think I did execution-wise? And I do accept constructive criticism," Flash says, smiling. "You sure are an energetic one. I think you did superb. Better than a lot of the fighters out here today," the announcer replies. "There was nothing I could see but your opponent falling to the ground," Shang Tsung says, grinning a little bit. Flash laughs at his comment. "I told you it would be quick, after all I'm the fastest man alive," Flash says, zooming out of the ring. He spots some cute girls who blow down to him. He stops in his path, bowing down to them. The waiting area is filled with confused and angry participants. One guy goes to the extreme of pushing over a table. "How the hell is anyone going to be able to compete with a guy that fast? Except for Super Wonderful, I came to this tournament to compete. Those two are on a whole different level than the rest of us," a guy yells. Everyone's attention is on him. Wonder Woman has her head down, smiling at his frustration. Ermac comes up behind the fighter, tapping him on his back. "I'm going to have to tell you to lower your voice. Some of us are concentrating for our upcoming matches," he tells. The guy takes a few deep breaths, picking the table up and sitting back down. Many fighters in the room agree with him. Flash re-enters the waiting area, zooming over and sitting back down next to Batman. Everyone in the room's attention is turned to that table. "Am I not the fastest man, or am I?" Flash asks. Kung Lao shakes his head while smiling. Okay, you get your props, you are pretty darn fast, he tells. Spider-Man congratulates Flash by shaking his hand. Sonya notices everyone staring over at them. Can we help any of you? She asks. Right away most of them turn and go into their separate areas. Batman and Superman just sit back in their chairs silent, as everyone else starts up a conversation. Over another hour goes by. And now we have Shady versus Captain America. Cap finishes his Dr. Pepper he got from the soda machine, making his way to the ring. He is grabbed by his arm, and turns to see Wonder Woman. I just want you to know I hope you do well, I'll be cheering for you, she tells. He smiles at her as they give each other a hug. After doing so, he enters the ring ready to fight. His opponent stands in the ring stretching, trying to get warmed up. Where will this battle take place? The announcer asks. The sun sparkles bright over the stadium. Shang Tsung stands off to the side along with the announcer. The two opponents appear to be intensely focused on one another. We will take this battle to the vacant castle. Shady looks away from Cap. It seems to be my kind of place. The two of them are quickly transported to the destination of choice. Captain America looks around observing his surroundings within the castle walls. If not for the torches on the walls, there wouldn't be any light. Cap walks down the long dark hall with his gun in hand, along with his shield in the other. He notices a window and decides to take a peek outside. There is a full moon which is partially covered by clouds, along with immeasurable stars. Hopefully this guy decides to show himself soon. I hate to wait around. Bucky takes a deeper thought into the circumstances. He is probably trying to find me as well. After all, this entire place is massive. Cap only takes a few more steps forward, before hearing the sound of something tumbling producing a clatter resonance. It echoes throughout the many halls, but it is quite clear which direction the sound came from. Captain America takes off running in hopes of discovering Shady. He ventures down and through 2 halls, finally coming across a suit of armor which lays across the carpet in pieces. Cap quickly concludes that it was knocked over in order to indicate his opponent's location. He is hit across the head from his backside, plunging to the ground. Looks like I found you, Mr. Colorful. Shady spits on the ground, crossing his arms. Now get up so we can start this little match. Captain America jumps up, aiming his gun at Shady, who kicks it out of his hand. Do you really think that piece of man-made weapon will harm me? You must not know me. Shady stands in place while his entire body begins to glow. Cap takes a few steps back, not sure what to do at the moment. This individual quickly creates shadows of himself that surround Captain America, laughing. Back in the stadium, including the waiting area, everyone continues to watch. Wow, that sure is some technique he has there. Hopefully Cap overcomes this and is victorious. Spider-Man says, looking at the shadow figures. Close by is Wonder Woman with clenched fists. She watches with much emotion and intensity. I say that America dude is finished. Besides, what sort of coward uses a gun? These words from somewhere in the group of participants angers Diana, but she keeps herself from saying anything. One of the dark shadows grabs and throws Cap upward. Shady takes the opportunity, jumping up, kicking him across the hall. Cap lands on his feet, throwing his shield at Shady across the way, but it is caught by a shadow. It throws the projectile back at Captain America, who catches it. I hope you have more tricks up your sleeve than that, because if you don't, this fight will be over very quickly, Shady says. The shadows of Shady sink into the ground as if they were ghosts. They reappear from beneath Cap, holding him by his ankles. Shady runs across the room, soaring into Captain America, kneeing him in the abdomen. He tops it with an uppercut. The Avenger falls into a display black knight armor, knocking a few of the sections off. Cap kicks up, now back on his feet. Shady slides across the floor, punching and kicking at Cap, who blocks the hits. Cap performs a spinning roundhouse kick, putting Shady off balance. Cap takes the option to smash his shield into the face of Shady, who falls unconscious. The shadows immediately disappear back into the body of Shady. Captain America picks up his gun, watching as he and Shady are brought back to the stadium of the shrill crowd. Good match, Captain. We will see you in round 2, the announcer informs. Cap steps out of the ring, walking across the grass, waving at the spectators. Shortly after, he re-enters the waiting area to first be greeted by Flash. Good match, man. For a second there you had me worried, but I knew you would end up on top. Flash congratulates. Cap gives him a smile while patting him on the shoulder. Thanks a lot. By the looks of it, we will all advance past round 1. I think what remains of our group who hasn't fought yet is Green Lantern and Wonder Woman. Flash scratches his chin a bit. Speaking of which, you didn't happen to cross paths with Batman exiting the ring, did you? Flash looks around trying to spot the caped crusader. He just left from the table not saying where he was going. No, I didn't, but I'm sure it's nothing to worry about, Captain America replies. Flash agrees, zooming off into the crowd. The tournament continues on, and with a couple more matches, it is Green Lantern called up to fight against Chameleon. Both enter the ring at the exact same time, coming from different sides. We would like to duke it out here in the ring. I would prefer not to have outside interferences, Green Lantern tells. Shang Tsung steps out of the ring along with the announcer. Green Lantern seems to be in a hurry, creating a hammer with his ring. Chameleon doesn't have time to react, as the hammer stretches diagonally, drumming him across the face. The impact of the attack results in Chameleon being knocked up over 20 feet before he even descends fully. Green Lantern creates a hefty shoe stomping over his opponent. The green light around Hal disappears as he goes back to normal. Chameleon lays knocked out in front of Green Lantern. The audience laughs and cheers, standing to their feet. The announcer enters the ring alone. Let's all give a hand to the Green Lantern. The spectators applaud him once again. The shifts in ideas now become apparent among the audience. It had begun with a simple notion that the man bearing the red cape and boots would sweep the tourney, but it has since changed. The feeling can be felt between each individual that the tournament will be won by Green Lantern, Superman, or the Flash. Pythina walks up behind a Shang Tsung with amplified eyes. I know it is probably hard for you to take it all in. These warriors are a great deal more powerful than anything you've ever encountered. Everyone looks up as Green Lantern flies out of the ring. Don't worry too much about it. Everything will be taken care of. Shang Tsung crosses his arms, grinning. So far what I've seen, the only ones to worry about are Superman, Ms. Marvel, the Flash, and Green Lantern. You haven't seen Wonder Woman in action yet. I think you will find her strength to be impressive as well. Green Lantern enters the waiting area and isn't surprised when he is stared down by many. He walks over, taking a seat across from Superman. That was quick. I felt sure you were gonna let the fight drag, Superman says. I could have done that, but I prefer to send a message to all fighters early. Green Lantern looks up at a TV, smiling. I'm sure round 1 should be over soon. It has been a few hours now. From what I can remember, I believe round 2 starts the day after tomorrow. It gives all the remaining participants rest and more time to prepare. Superman shakes his head, agreeing. Yes, you are correct. Originally it was going to take place tomorrow, but they updated the schedule just over an hour ago. Various other matches pass by, and it is now the second to last fight of round 1. And now we have the Sparrow versus Wonder Woman. That sure is something. I can't believe it took this long for you to finally fight. Cap pauses for a second, just glaring into her face. Good luck, Diana. She gives him a smile while giving him a hug. Wonder Woman then makes her way to the ring, waving to GL and Supes on the way. Liu Kang sits back in his chair, looking up at nothing in a deep train of thought. Kung Lao taps him over the shoulder. What's eating you? You look very worried and uneasy, Kung Lao asks. It's nothing much at all. Liu sits up in his chair. I was just thinking this tournament almost seems impossible for a mortal to win. But that is what has me all hyped up, the chance to defeat the odds. Kung Lao can feel that Liu is enjoying the moment, and decides to think about it a little himself. The sight of Wonder Woman flying into the ring is already enough to get the crowd raucous. Her opponent possesses wings, flying into the ring as well. I don't care of her opinion, but I would like this match to take place in the sky haze, the Sparrow concludes. Wonder Woman looks over at him, rolling her eyes at his obvious rudeness. She shifts her body, turning to Shang Tsung and the announcer. I guess it's whatever, that will be fine. The announcer walks out of the ring with Shang Tsung. Wonder Woman and the Sparrow are immediately sent to the chosen arena. Once there, it is then known that their flying abilities would be proven extremely essential. The two of them stand on separate floating blocks within the sky. Wonder Woman looks down and is surprised at what she discovers. Either we are up very high, or this world has no bottom. It would be like falling forever. The Sparrow laughs at the expression on Wonder Woman's face. He jumps off of his block onto another, and continues to do this, getting closer to his opponent. Diana jumps off of her block, flying as well as punching into the Sparrow. This individual grabs his stomach, bending over out of breath. For a lady, you sure pack a punch. He looks up at her with watery eyes, but there is no way I will lose to a girl. He jumps back a bit, throwing a punch at her that is grabbed. She cracks his knuckles, which are located in the palm of her hand. Using her free arm, she swings across, punching him in the face. The blow to the head knocks him out cold. She grabs him by his ankle as he nearly falls off the block. The two of them are brought back to the stadium. Wonder Woman lets the sparrow drop to the ground. It is then that the paramedics come in and retrieve him. The winner of this match is Wonder Woman. She quickly flies out of the ring with the entire crowd cheering her on. Shang Tsung looks up at her with clenched fists. Once in the waiting area, she is first greeted by Spider-Man and Superman. "You sure did take that guy out quickly. I thought you would entertain us all, but that's okay. It's good enough that you won," Spidey says. "I guess it wouldn't make sense to leave now. We might as well watch the final match of this round. But it sure will be nice to leave this place. It feels like we have been in here forever," Wonder Woman tells. She excuses herself from them walking off. Spidey can't help but look down at her rear end. "Wow, she is such a babe," Spider-Man mumbles. Superman looks down at him with an eyebrow up. "She won't be a distraction to you now, will she?" Supes asks. Spider-Man's eyes widen behind his mask, realizing that Superman heard him clearly. He thinks about it for a second, remembering that he did in fact have splendid hearing. "No, she won't, but you do have to admire a woman of her beauty and strength," Spidey replies. "Don't think about it too much, plus we are here to find Connor. Even if we have been tricked, someone wanted us here, so we must stay around to find out why," Superman says. Spider-Man shakes his head agreeing. The final match comes and goes quickly, closing up the first round of the tournament. It is then that Athena steps into the middle of the ring. "I would like to thank you all for coming once again. Round 2 will take place in 2 days. But there is plenty of events that everyone can attend in that stretch of time. Tonight, just across from this stadium, a party will take place consisting of food, music, and dancing. I encourage you all to attend." The announcer steps into the ring next to Athena. "Don't forget to vote for who you think will take the tournament. The voting booths are now open. The person or persons who guess right will get the money they put in back, including that of those who guessed wrong." After the announcer is finished speaking, he gives everyone the permission to leave. Flash zooms around in the waiting room, finally stopping in front of Iron Man and Wolverine. "Have either of you seen Batman? I'm beginning to think he got lost in this place," Flash asks. "He didn't pass by this way. I'm sure we'll see him on the way out," Iron Man replies. The three of them exit the waiting room together. "Well, only 200 participants remain. 50 were eliminated from each bracket. We most definitely need to take the day of rest to our advantage," Sonya says to Johnny. Many spectators still stand in the bleachers cheering on the participants as they walk by to the exit doors. When Superman and Flash come into sight, the crowd gets even more energized. They chant their names, and some yell out for autographs. Flash smiles at the sight of fame. "I'll see you guys outside the stadium, but for now my fans need me." Flash zooms off in a hurry toward the crowd. Superman shakes his head, laughing a bit at Flash's childlike excitement. "If we take too long, you can all travel back to the temple without us," Superman tells. He gets out of the line to the exits, following Flash to the bleachers. "For once I just wish I were number 1 to a crowd," Spidey complains, looking down onto the ground. "Who knows, maybe my day will come soon." People jump ahead of each other trying to get their pads or cards signed first. Supes just does it as any other normal being would. But Flash does it speedily, signing various cards and pads in seconds. A woman steps ahead of everyone with her little girl in hand. She passes a camera to her husband, who stands in the crowd. "We would really like to have a picture with the two of you, if that is okay." Flash pats the little girl on the head. "Of course, that will be fine. You can have as many shots as you'd like." The pictures are taken as Superman and Flash continue to write their autographs. Athena stands nearby watching the activities of Superman and Flash. Just as I expected, the two of them are spectator favorites. But after everything is said and done, this world and their world will be ours, Athena tells. She and Shang Tsung leave the field, entering into a back room. The lines for the voting booths are packed. "So who are you voting for?" "I'm gonna have to go with my boy Flash. The dude's got ridiculous speed. No one can touch him except maybe for the guy in the red cape. How about you?" "I'm not sure yet. I'll have my mind made up once we get closer to the front. But it will either be Superman or the Green Lantern." Many conversations go on throughout the line. A little over an hour passes before Flash and Superman are finished signing autographs. They walk out of the exit side by side. The two of them talk and laugh about the day's events. When outside of the stadium, they find a familiar comrade standing up against a wall with crossed arms. "Hey Batman, why is it that you are still here? Where are the others?" Flash asks. They must have left with the rest of the crowd earlier. I didn't see any of them. I was looking around to see if I could find anything strange, but came up with nothing. Hopefully this tournament isn't just a setup for something big, Batman tells. What do you mean by that? Superman asks. Let's just hope we aren't going to regret attending this affair. I'm willing to bet someone has something to gain from this all, but then again I might be wrong, Batman replies. The three of them are silent for a few moments. What I think our whole group should do tonight is attend the dance. That should relieve any stress we might have. Of course we would have to come without our patrolling/hero costumes on, Flash suggests. Batman leans forward off of the wall. You Clark and everyone else maybe, but I have work to do. Tonight is the night I want answers. Something just isn't right about all of this, Batman says. In all honesty, you just need to chill out a bit. You just seem so uptight about everything. Trust me, Bats, a little fun would do you well, Flash advises. You might be right, but I don't plan on sharing my true identity with any of the Avengers, or anyone for that matter, Bats tells. Alright, that's enough. Let's make our way back to the temple. We've probably kept everyone waiting long enough, Superman says. The three of them begin their journey back to the temple. Miles away, both Kung Lao and Lu enter the Shalian temple. Awaiting them in the front room is Raiden. So how did the two of you do? Before saying a word, both Shalian fighters bow to their sensei. Well, I guess you could say we did well, considering we both passed the first round. I'm not going to lie to you, but this is gonna be a tough one to win, Lu replies. Raiden glances back and forth at each of his students. I know who you speak of, it is the fighters from another world, but I can feel the confidence throughout you both. Just believe in yourselves and you can accomplish anything. Thank you, Lord Raiden, it is greatly appreciated, Kung Lao says. Dinner is being prepared for the two of you and should be ready in the next 10 minutes. I think it would be a good idea if you guys just rest for the remainder of the evening, Raiden tells. Lu looks up at a close-by clock, seeing that it is 30 minutes past 5. Superman, Batman and Flash return back to the temple. They take the elevator up to their floor, by way of Bats and Soup's parting ways with Flash. When inside their room, Bruce takes the cowl off of his head, sitting down in a chair. I really do think you should take Wally's advice. A little relaxation never hurts anyone. Come on, Bruce, you wouldn't even know where to begin looking for answers, Superman says. Bruce stands up, getting undressed out of the rest of his suit. He gets into a pair of tan slacks, and a sky blue t-shirt. He additionally puts on some shades along with a hat, with black Nike shoes. I'm going on a short walk, which should give me a little more time to think it over, Bruce tells. He opens the door slightly, looking out to make sure no one is present in the hall. All is clear, so he exits the room, walking down the hall to the elevator. Wolverine talks with room service on the phone. Could you please repeat again how much weight in total you'd like? No particular weight, just make sure it is over 400, Logan says. Hal and Peter just sit around waiting for their ordered tuxedos to arrive. Miles away, Pathina, Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung work on the preparations for round 2. Kahn looks over the shoulder of Shang Tsung, getting a glimpse of the fighters who remain. Maybe you were right about this, Superman. So far our men in the booths count him having a splendid amount of the votes. But it isn't quite clear between him and the one who goes by Flash, who holds the most votes. Kahn says. Pathina discusses further matters with Kahn, while Shang Tsung continues to set up each individual second-round match. Baraka along with a couple Tarkadans barges into the room which Shang Tsung works in. The sorcerer glances up from what he is doing, presenting a face of agitation. If you have come here to talk, it will have to wait till later. Shang Tsung looks down over the brackets. If you're that anxious, Pathina and Shao Kahn are just in the next room. Baraka signals the two Tarkadans to have a seat on the nearby sofa. He strides over, taking a seat across from Shang Tsung at the lengthy table. I just spoke with Prince Guro, and he informed me that he will begin fighting against tournament participants who make it past round 3. Shouldn't he be fighting sooner? Baraka asks. You of all people should know Guro loves a challenge. He is waiting for a handful of the weaker fighters to be eliminated. Shang Tsung looks up from what he is doing. If it is those superpowered fighters you are worried about, don't worry. Pathina has orchestrated a plan which includes them all being demolished. Baraka sits back with a wide smile across his face. That's great, but that does nothing. The real problem is Raiden and his group of Earth defenders. That is who Pathina should be targeting. Those metahumans have nothing to do with our world. I guess Khan didn't let you in on the whole plan, but we are going to take over this globe and the one they come from. Pathina came to us directly for help to accomplish this plan. Much excitement runs throughout Baraka, but he still does not fully trust their newfound ally. Over 2 hours pass and the sun has fully set over the mountaintops. Logan reaches over, turning off the water handle. He steps out of the shower wrapping a towel around his body. He opens his nearby handbag, getting ready to shave. He doesn't spend more than 5 minutes in there before finishing up and leaving. When in the hallway, he looks over to see Batman. If you are looking for any of the others, you probably won't find them. They all left for the primetime event, Batman informs. I already knew, but thanks for telling me anyhow. Not to assume anything, but you aren't going, are you? Logan asks, almost certain. Batman looks down, pulling something out of his utility belt, throwing it to Logan. Here are some coupons I picked up earlier from the stadium. You can use them tonight or on something in one of the gift shops. The Avenger X-Men glimpses through them, seeing what discount each of them gave in depth. He looks up from the slips to an empty hall. A nearby window is open in company of the wind from outside brushing against the plants. Now I can see why this guy hasn't been killed yet. His awareness and technique is crazy. For someone with no superhuman abilities, he is a bit impressive. Afterwards, Logan walks off into his room getting dressed. Lin Kuei Temple Sub-Zero along with many of the other Lin Kuei fighters spar amongst each other. Standing before them is the Grand Master, who takes notes of each individual fighter. After doing so he calls time, which ends the training session. I'm glad to see that most of you are showing improvement from the past few weeks, but loads of you still have a long road ahead of you. Our goal by the next Mortal Kombat tournament is to have at least 10 of you representing along with Sub-Zero. The Grand Master has the entire group of rookies step aside. He sends a veteran fighter out to the middle of the room to face off against Sub-Zero. I want you all to watch them carefully, pay close attention to their execution of moves. Outside of the temple, Reptile runs through a forest jumping over a log. The resonance of splashing water is present, seeing that the ninja continues crossing through a lake. He looks around, making sure he isn't being followed before proceeding. When coming to a stop, Baraka awaits him by a campfire. Another individual steps from behind a tree. I'm glad to see you made it on time. We must hurry and discuss the future plans before anyone gets suspicious. The sorcerer Quan Kai leans a bit on the tree. Baraka has some information that is sounding promising. Oh really, and what might that be? Reptile asks, not sounding too intrigued. Quan Kai steps forward, putting a hand in front of him. Patience, Reptile, let Baraka speak before forming your opinion. This looks to be a perfect opportunity to resurrect Lord Shinnok. The ninja decides to listen, taking a seat on a nearby rock. Baraka clears his throat before speaking. He starts off by telling them about the new alliance between Pathina the Outsider, Shang Tsung, and Shao Kahn. Across from the tournament dome, many people enter the building where the revelry will take place. Most of the attendants are directed outside through the back doors, with many tables set up and a view of the beach. Clark and Diana enter with wrapped arms, taking a seat near the beachfront. Wow, that really is some view. It sure is stunning tonight. Clark sits back, opening a menu. So do you think we should start off with some appetizers first? The princess stares into the night sky, seemingly lost in her thoughts. Diana wears a pink dress with long pink gloves, while Clark wears the casual black suit and tie. He takes a moment to observe her. She notices a smile from him. Is something wrong? Diana asks. Oh, it's nothing really. You just look so beautiful tonight. Where did you get that outfit? She looks away from him, blushing. Tony Stark purchased this for me just an hour ago. I'm glad you like it. Figures, I should have known it was him. Tony's got so much money, it's amazing, just like someone we know. Diana rests her elbows on the table's surface. I really wish Bruce would have come. Sometimes it just feels like Batman has completely taken over his life. Yeah, maybe so, but that is a part of who he is. Both Batman and Bruce are the same individual, just two different sides trying to bring some good to the world. Bucky walks across, having a seat next to Diana. It is then that Clark changes the subject. So are the others all here yet? Clark picks up a menu. There certainly are a lot of things to choose from. Yeah, most everyone should be making their way through the front entrance, but I do believe Wolverine and Batman might be running a little late. I didn't see either of them, Bucky replies. Wally enters alongside Peter. The two of them head right over to the bar area. Don't worry about reaching for your wallet, this one's on me, Wally tells. Both of them order large Sprites, sitting at the stools in front of the bar. Tony, Carol, and Hal make their presence known, walking across the cement floor, finding a table. You must enjoy having that super speed. I bet you're never late for anything. I can't even count how many times if I had just been there minutes earlier things could have been different, Peter reveals. You'd be surprised, because even with my immense speed I haven't made it on schedule every time. Most everyone's attention is taken away from what they are doing, with the sound of booming music. It is then that a DJ enters the main stage along with his crew. Through a microphone they encourage everyone to come out on the dance floor, which a lot of people do almost instantly. Wonder Woman stands up from her chair, grabbing Bucky by his wrist. Come dance with me, it will be a lot of fun, he smirks looking optimistic at the princess. It would be my pleasure, Bucky replies. While the two of you are out there I will order some buffalo wings and nachos as an appetizer, Soups tells. The two of them leave the table holding hands while walking out onto the dance floor. Tony steps onto the dance floor as well, he just looks around finding a woman who stands alone. Hal and Carol just sit at the table watching. The two of them sure have taken a liking to one another, it's almost like love on first sight wouldn't you say? Carol asks. Hal rubs his chin for a few moments reflecting on it. I guess that means I'm not the only one who noticed, so what do you have planned for tomorrow? I think I'll just sit back and relax, training won't be necessary for most of us. She sits forward resting one of her legs over the other. I haven't really decided yet, but I might just go on a little tour of this island. Hal stands up from the table walking forward. I've decided I'll go for a few rounds, if you change your mind you can come on out, Hal tells. He disappears into the crowd of dancers. While the bartender looks the other direction, Peter webs a can of Pepsi pulling it over to his side. He leaves money in its place. The fast-paced music switches over to a slow pace. Diana relaxes her head on the shoulder of Bucky as they dance around in circles. Hey Pete, I'll be back in a minute, I need to ask Superman something really fast. You should really go out there and dance, it looks enjoyable, Wally tells. Not far away up a hill and on the pinnacle of a brick temple is Batman slouched over, looking down on the entire event through his binoculars. He looks in all directions, making sure there isn't any form of deception, but he appears to come back to a certain someone, the princess of the Mistira. Her appearance of much attractiveness seizes his concentration. The Dark Knight finally comes to a realization there is nothing gruesome about the party. Deciding to take his search for answers elsewhere, he places the binoculars back into his utility belt gliding off of the rooftop. I saw you looking down on the dance, what are you, some kind of assassin? You're good at sticking to the shadows but so am I? Batman looks over to see a suited-up fighter with crossed arms standing up against a tree. He takes a few steps forward to get a clearer view. I remember you from the tournament, you're that ninja, isn't it Scorpion you go by? Batman asks. I see you have a good memory as well, but I have to tell you something. I don't like guys who sneak around, why don't you cut to the chase and tell me what you're really here for? I'm sorry but that's just none of your business. I'd back off if I were you, you're getting into dangerous territory, Batman replies. Scorpion laughs at his comment seeing it as a challenge, he pulls out his rope spear twirling it around. I don't know what it is you're thinking, but I'd put my weapon away if I were you. Take my word for it, you don't want to fight me, Bats tells. I've heard enough of your talking, and you're obviously hiding something, maybe if I beat on you enough you'll have a change of heart, Scorpion says. As I said before it's none of your concern, but if you insist just try me. Scorpion smiles under his mask, seeing as the Dark Knight has accepted his challenge. Hanzo wastes no time, throwing the rope spear out at Batman who jumps out of the blade's lane. As a quick counter he pulls out 4 batarangs throwing them at the Ninja Spectre. 2 of them pierce Scorpion in the shoulder as he dodges the other 2 remaining. Both Scorpion and the Dark Knight perform a flying kick, knocking each other to the side. Scorpion once again throws his rope spear out at Batman, who just knocks it down with his gauntlets. Had enough yet? Quite honestly you're just wasting precious time of mine. I have things that I have to do other than fighting, Batman notifies. Scorpion leaps forward into a front flip, coming down behind Batman kicking him into a bush. I don't care who you are or what you want, we will fight till the end. Either you will kill me, or I will kill you. The Dark Knight gets to his feet knowing that he won't kill Scorpion, and really has no desire to fight him either. The battle continues as Scorpion races over toward Batman, throwing a few punches and kicks. Some of which are blocked, while others he lands perfectly. Batman steps back putting power into a roundhouse kick, knocking Scorpion off balance. Batman steps into it punching him across the face, watching as Scorpion goes down hard. The ninja shows signs of dizziness, but is quick to get up, kneeing bats in his left side of his ribs. The Dark Knight yells out in pain as he is uppercut 14 feet into the air. The ninja specter takes the opportunity to throw his rope spear up. It tears right through the stomach of Bats, but doesn't quite make it out of the other side. Scorpion pulls it out and watches as Batman falls to the ground in a somewhat bloody mess. "Well, it looks like this fight is over. Quite honestly, I expected a much better match," Scorpion says. He looks down on Batman and can tell he is in tremendous pain. "You really are pathetic. I guess I'll take the liberty of beating on you some more before I finish you." It is obvious Batman cannot get up after Scorpion's previous attack. Hanzo walks over, stomping on the Dark Knight's chest, watching as more blood squirts out from his body. He then picks him up by a bat ear on his cowl, brutally striking him in the face, before slamming his head to the ground. He now bleeds from his nose and mouth. "I could just leave you here to die like a dog, but I'd rather finish you off with something rememberable," Scorpion tells. He steps back a few yards, spinning his rope spear at a high speed. He focuses, looking down at Batman's chest, in the area of his heart's location. The rope is thrown with more than enough distance, but the blade just drops to the ground. It all happened so fast, but Scorpion notices the rope had been sliced while airborne. He looks up in time as he is slashed across his chest and punched to the ground. "You messed with the wrong man, bub." Scorpion jumps up, putting some space between him and this unknown person. "And who are you supposed to be? I take it you must be a friend of that bat," Scorpion asks. "The name's Wolverine and you don't have much longer to live. How dare you attack and kill Batman? I'm gonna cut you open and watch as the roaches feast on your dead carcass. I think I'd rather not waste my time on another worthless fighter. Who knows, maybe you'll fight against me in the tournament. Until then, so long, you fool." Logan watches as Scorpion disappears into thin air. The Avenger falls to his knees, punching at the dirt in rage. It destroys him within. Given the reality he didn't show up sooner. Many thoughts float through his mind, but what sticks out most is what he would have to tell the others. And how would he do so? The sound of Batman calling for him can be heard within. But after a few seconds, he realizes something. Standing and turning to his other side, Batman lays in the dirt alive, calling for him. Logan immediately makes his way over to his side. "Batman, can you hear me?" Logan asks. "Help me, you. Up. No, wah. That way will I D, like this." Batman struggles to say. Logan takes off his tuxedo vest, wrapping and tying it around Bat's stomach to stop the bleeding. After doing so, he puts Batman's arm over his shoulder, lifting him up and walking slowly. The infirmary is nearby. It is the same one that the participants in the tournament earlier in the day went to if needed. "After they patch you up and everything, I'll take you back to the temple. Just don't die before we get there." Logan proceeds down the hill with Batman slumped over on his side. Back in the party area, Peter and Wally have moved over to the side of Superman. "Besides going by Superman, what is your civilian identity?" Peter asks innocently. All he gets from the big man is a smirk. "You most likely won't get an answer from him. He probably wants to keep it private," Wally says. The three of them sit back, but it isn't too much longer before they are served their food. Over another 4 hours pass before the event ends. It is then that everyone exits from the premises. "Wow, that was actually really fun. Hopefully they have more of these parties. Heck, there was a lot of fine babes in there as well," Wally says. Bucky puts a hand on his shoulder, laughing. "Yeah, I'll have to agree with you. That was a lot of fun. It took off a lot of the pressure from the tournament." The group talks amongst one another while on the way back to the temple. Back across from the stadium, Logan looks through the glass window, watching over Bruce, who lies on a comfort table hooked to oxygen. His wounds have since been cleaned and patched up. The nurse by his bedside after some time finally leaves, exiting the room. "It's a good thing you brought him when you did. If it had been 5 minutes later, he would have passed on. He will be just fine. All he needs now is a lot of rest. Your friend won't be able to get up on his own for at least 2 or 3 days. Do you have any idea how this happened?" "No clue, Mrs. Logan looks down at her name tag. "Ms. Deanna, I just found him this way," Logan replies. She lifts up her clipboard, writing something down. "Well, I have another patient to check up on. You can stay here as long as you wish. He probably won't be up and back to 100% for 2 weeks at quickest." "That can't work. He is a participant in the tournament," Logan replies. "I'm sorry, but that's just the way it is. He will have to be taken out of the event. Just let him rest. That is the best way for a nice speedy recovery." Deanna puts the clipboard down to her side, walking down the hall. Logan looks downward at her legs and backside, whistling. She turns around as a response, but he hastily looks the other way. Logan then looks through the glass to see the eyes of Bruce open. But what happens next surprises him more. Bruce sits up, taking the oxygen off of his face, hopping off of the table. It is then that Logan enters the room. "What in the name of God do you think you're doing? In your present state you shouldn't be up," Logan asks. Bruce takes off the hospital pajamas, throwing them to the side. He steps over to the chair located by the table, picking up and getting dressed into his bat suit. Logan watches at the side, amazed at how Bruce moves around as if he hadn't been injured at all. Bruce puts the cowl back over his head last, turning to Logan. "Let's get out of here before she makes another round to this room," Batman says. Logan wants to say something but is at loss for words. Instead he just shakes his head, agreeing. Batman takes the lead as they hurry through the hall to the exit. Once outside they are almost soaked down with the heavy rain all around. "We will just call it a night and make our way back to the temple. Let's just keep it between us what happened tonight," Batman tells. Logan shakes his head, agreeing, walking through the downpour. "Hopefully you don't have another encounter with that ninja. You might not be so lucky next time." The comment seems to have the Dark Knight stunned, or perhaps angered. Whatever it may be, it is known that he puts much thought into it. "There is one thing you don't know about me, Logan, and that is I don't repeat the same outcome twice. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, but if he and I meet again it won't be the same. Whatever the case, I'm glad you made it okay. Just try and be more careful when sneaking around. I won't always be there for your assist." Back at the temple, Diana finishes up in the bathroom, slipping into a long t-shirt, returning to the room. Both Carol and Bucky are sound asleep. She tiptoes across the carpet over to Bucky's bed. She looks down at him, having much desire in her eyes. Rubbing a hand across his face, she bends down a bit, bringing her lips closer to his. Feeling a bit uneasy, she pulls back, standing, walking across the room and getting into bed with Carol. At Shao Kahn's fortress, Shang Tsung looks over his completed round 2 brackets. "It all looks good. You have done a fabulous job as usual. I'm about to go get some shut-eye," Pathina emphasizes. Shang Tsung looks over to see her wearing a robe in the midst of her bra and thong revealed. He does a proficient task of trying to hide his interest. She blows him a good night, leaving the room. Driving through the streets of Gotham is a fresh group of individuals who appear to keep a low profile. Not much attention is drawn to them, as there is a large amount of felony throughout the city, keeping the police force diligent. The large pickup truck turns into a dark alleyway before coming to a complete stop. The group sits in the vehicle for some time, making sure they weren't being watched. After some time, 3 of the passengers exit out of the vehicle, walking to a nearby streetlight. "Well, there it is, Mr. Deadpool, but I'm sure it is crammed with all sorts of crazy alarms." Deadpool marches over, patting his teammate on the shoulder. "Don't worry about it. I've got the map and layout of Gotham Museum. When we get inside I don't want the 2 of you acting like monkey heads. I prefer gorillas," Deadpool says, laughing. "Yeah, whatever you say, boss, but on a more serious note, what about the bat?" "Don't you worry about the Batman." Deadpool wraps an arm around the ninja's shoulder. "I got a call from him this morning. He informed me that he will be hibernating within his dark, depressing cave." Deadpool runs ahead of his ninjas, crossing the street while laughing. The 2 of them exchange glimpses, which regard that of Deadpool. Not wanting to waste time, the 2 sprints across the street, catching up with Deadpool. The 3 of them get their equipment ready for the planned stealthy break-in. Deadpool leads them to the rooftop, and to his surprise a roof vintage has apparently been busted into. They do not see it as a problem entering into the entrance created by an unknown person, so that is what the 3 opt to do. There is much space while they crawl through the vent, making the mission that much easier. "You have any clue when we can make our way down? I'm a bit uncomfortable when in enclosed areas." Deadpool only nods, trying to keep their presence from being noticed by any possible security guards. They continue through, making many lefts and rights before Deadpool stops. Digging into his utilities located around his waist, he pulls out a laser gun. He uses it to melt the nails to create an opening through the vent, pulling the top off and throwing it to the side. Deadpool moves aside as one of the others sprays a lot of something into the room beneath them. Once the dust clears, it reveals lasers which would trip the defense system. "All right, you're up, Gerald. Go down there and disable the security system. After you take care of that, we will follow you down," Deadpool says. Gerald has that of superhuman reflexes and agility, jumping down into the almost definite death trap. He maneuvers his body dodging the sensitive beams, performing side and back flips. While doing this, he promptly locates the panel which will shut everything down, pulling out and throwing shurikens at it. The panel electrifies for a few moments before exploding. At this time the lasers disappear, with that of Deadpool and the remaining ninja entering from above. "Good work, Gerald. Let's just recover the chest plate from that armor over there," Deadpool tells. The other ninja opens up a huge bag, dragging it across the room. The feeling of victory is replaced with fright, given the loud sound of a whip striking the marble floor. The bag is dropped as the three of them turn around to see what caused the noise. "Miyu, good evening boys, I hope I'm not getting in the way." One of the ninjas recognizes this individual instantly. Deadpool has nothing but desire in his eyes. How is it they hit the jackpot on a mission like this? "I'm taking it that you're Catwoman, right? I've read about you in the Gotham newspaper." "Well, I'm impressed. I see someone did their homework. Just step aside, I've come for that relic and won't be stopped." Deadpool walks over, picking up the burnished item, pitching it to Catwoman. She reaches out catching it, but is surprised it was given to her by these unknown ninjas. "Have you ever been told your why? What would it take for the two of us to get a date?" Deadpool asks, trying to sound like a gentleman. Catwoman smiles while blushing a bit. "Maybe another time, sweetie, because tonight you have a date with the police." Catwoman stretches her whip some, featuring a way activating and tripping a backup security system. She blows it to Deadpool. Using her whip to get to the ceiling, she exits through a window. "I always knew kitty cats were deception artists. The two of you must hurry. Let's get that armor and dip," Deadpool informs. Within the city of New York, Scott Summers has just returned from patrol along with Iceman, Storm and Beast. He walks into the TV room, having a seat on the sofa, picking up a nearby remote, turning on the news. The #1 headline is the disappearance of Lois Lane, along with another group of reporters. Scott takes a silent gasp, thinking back on the day's hard work. He is startled a bit with the hand of someone resting on his shoulder. "Don't worry, Scott, it's just me. I merely want to know how the mission played out." "It actually went fine, Emma, considering they retreated. Not that it is really a problem, but have you seen Wolverine?" She walks around the couch, having a seat by his side. "I guess he didn't tell you, but he went on some mission along with some of the Avengers. Logan didn't give me any real details." Dimensions away, everyone sleeps soundly within the temple. It rains outside, also thumping against the glass windows, awaking Peter Parker from an unpleasant dream. It was that, in fact, of him watching as his Uncle Ben was gunned down by some common thug. He tries not to think about it, but to instead think good thoughts which will enable him to fall asleep. After some time he finally does. With the rise of the sun bringing light to the plains, Liu Kang arises, stepping out of bed and getting dressed. He wears black sweatpants along with a white sleeveless shirt, exiting his room, making his way down the many steps to the main lobby. "Good morning, Jay. Have anything planned for later in the day?" Liu asks. "Nah, nothing much. Me and a couple of the other guys are going up to the graveyard for some voluntary work." Liu and his clan member finish the conversation, shaking hands before going their separate ways. The champion of Mortal Kombat makes his way to the main room, bowing down to Raiden. "Did you have trouble sleeping? Usually you're not up and moving this early?" Raiden asks. Liu stands up tall, stretching. "With some of these new opponents within the tourney, I find it important to stay focused, and that means being at my complete best. If anyone comes looking for me, just let them know I'll be up on the hilltop training," Liu informs. Raiden nods, watching as his student opens the front entrance, leaving the premises. Liu takes a deep breath, looking up into the sapphire sky, appreciating its magnificence more than usual. After some moments he begins jogging, making his way onto the grassland. Temple Clark awakes, looking over into the other bed, not seeing Bruce. He speculates if he even returned from wherever he was last night, but it doesn't bother him much, remembering that the Dark Knight is an early springer. After a little over 2 hours, most everyone else is awake. Bucky sits up over his pillow, staring over at Wonder Woman, who runs her fingers in the hair of Carol, who lies up against her. It is then that someone knocks at the door. Carol sits up, getting out of the bed, strolling across the carpet and opening the door. "I just wanted to know if the three of you would like to join the rest of us. Flash just discovered there is a restaurant downstairs, which we all can order some breakfast," Tony tells. The three of them concur to the idea. Carol requests both Tony and Bucky to leave the room so that she and Diana could get dressed. Bucky seizes some clothes to change in, exiting along with Tony. "I don't know about you, but I'm kinda enjoying this place. It's a pleasant change of scenario." Plus this is a good way to test our skills in a tournament, Bucky says. Tony strokes his buddy on the shoulder as they walk down the hall. Logan steps out of the laundry room approaching them. Everyone is already downstairs getting tables. I'll see the two of you along with the ladies whenever you're ready. No one seems to know where Batman or Superman are. They're probably out exploring, Logan tells. Wolverine walks to the halls and getting into the elevator. Hal sits at a table located close to the pool reading a newspaper while drinking a banana-flavored smoothie. Peter sits to his left wearing shades to hinder out the sun. Do you mind if I ask you a question, GL? Sure, go ahead, Hal replies taking another sip. Well, did you notice your teammate Wandy has something going on with Cap? I might be mistaken, however. Why does it matter? Are you jealous? Hal asks, smiling, flipping the page. The wall crawler doesn't answer right away. It is obvious that she is incredibly attractive, but there was no way he felt that way about her. Of course not, that would be eccentric, he finally replies. Not even a mile away from the temple, Superman flies above looking below for someone. He is almost certain his search is over looking down on a man who sits under a tree meditating. He gradually descends to the ground, disembarking in front of the person, realizing he is right. Good morning, Bruce. Why is it that you're this far from the temple? Soups asks. You should stop stressing so much, Cal. Bruce opens his eyes. I can get more quiet and concentration out here, which is why I'm here. The Kryptonian notices the bandages wrapped around the stomach and chest of his ally, but decides not to ask why. Bruce stands picking up his shirt and putting it on. I have some things that I need to get from the room, so if you'd like we can return to the temple, Bruce says. Superman decides to meet him there, flying off. Bruce uses the same path he used when coming to this peaceful spot, a dirt road just a few yards away. He puts on a straw hat along with shades to help cover his face just in case he is approached by any of the Avengers except for Wolverine, who already knows his secret identity. At the castle of Shao Kahn, Prince Guro looks over some of the tournament footage. So what round do you plan on jumping in? Pathina walks in next to Guro. I don't believe I was informed when you planned to do so. It isn't something for you to be concerned with, however I am very impressed with some of the fighters you have invited to the tournament. Pathina walks over to a near table, pouring her a glass of wine. She looks on the screen to see the recap of Baraka butchering his adversary. That Iron Man seems to be a powerful force himself, but I'm sure without that armor of his, that of his abilities would drop to nothing. Not to say I plan on losing to anyone in this tournament, but it will be interesting to see who holds the Mortal Kombat title in the end, Guro tells. Pathina can feel that the presence of the JLU members along with the Avengers brings much excitement into that of the prince. The two have different thoughts on which the competition is actually between. Pathina believes it will be won by Superman, Ms. Marvel, Wonder Woman, GL, Captain America, or Wolverine. While Guro believes it can be taken by anyone. She feels Spidey is also a contender, but his inness seems to get the best of him in battle. So once your plan is fulfilled, we will rule this world, and that of where these beings came from. That is great, but I feel we shouldn't stop there. Spreading our rule throughout other dimensions would be all too satisfying, Guro tells. Pathina throws her hair back, smiling. Two great minds must think alike. That was my plan from the very beginning. Guro sits back feeling all too good. This was like a dream come true. He is offered a glass of wine from Pathina, accepting. Within the residence of the temple, Diana, Carol, Bucky and Tony enter into the restaurant. Tony asks for them to be seated outside, seeing as that was where everyone else was. The four follow the waitress, who seats them at a table next to their acquaintances. Took you guys long enough, we were about to order without you. Wally lets his irritation be known. Now let's eat before it's lunchtime. Logan picks up a menu, looking at the different dishes. Just outside the front of the temple is Bruce, who walks into the main lobby waving at the woman who stands behind the desk, who does the same back. He is swift getting over to the elevator, not trying to delay. Diana taps Peter on the shoulder, putting her hand out. We're short a menu. After you're finished, can you pass it over here? She asks sweetly. You can have it now, I've already decided on the pancake special, Peter says, placing it in her hand. She thanks him, setting it on the tabletop. Upstairs, Bruce exits out of the elevator, seeing that the hall is empty and silent. The first thought that comes to mind is that the others must have gone out somewhere. Usually the voice of Flash and or Spider-Man could be heard. He walks over, opening the door to his room with a slide card. Flying back, I saw some of our group downstairs. They were sitting by a pool. I'm gonna get dressed in something casual so that I can join them. Soups tells. Bruce removes his hat and shades, throwing them onto his bed. Why don't you hold off on that? The reason I came back was so that I could purchase some clothes for myself. If you'd like, I can do the same for you as well. I thought we would be in and out of this place immediately, which is why I only brought 3 bat suits and 3 pairs of clothes. I don't want to be a problem for you, Superman replies. Don't worry about repaying me, just think of it as a small favor, Bruce replies with his billionaire smile. Soups decides not to reply, knowing that he didn't want to try and argue with someone who rarely loses. Both of them jump a bit with the sound of a knock at the door. Bruce steps off to the side, not wanting to be seen, signaling Superman to answer it. Not asking who it was nor using his vision to look through the door, he just walks over, opening the door. You've been a very bad boy, it's time you've been spanked, a woman says, pushing Superman into the room. Another woman comes in following her, closing the door behind her. One is dressed as a nurse whilst the other as a police officer. Bruce comes from behind the corner, comprehending something is terribly wrong. He is quickly pushed onto a bed with the nurse getting on top of him, licking his lips. Superman could easily throw her through a wall but doesn't. This all must be a huge misunderstanding. Unless Bruce, it couldn't be. Did Bruce in fact set this all up? He is speedily pushed into a chair and cuffed by the woman in the police suit. What are you doing? Stop. You must have the wrong room, we've never even met, Bruce cries out. The nurse holds him down while unbuttoning her shirt, revealing her bra. Of course not, silly, you ordered us out, but I see you like to play hard to get. I love a good actor. Bruce tries to say something else, but she brings her lips down to his, sticking her tongue into his mouth. At this time his eyes are wide. How in the world could this happen to him of all people? Maybe it was Clark, Superman, who set this up. But why would he? Superman breaks out of the cuffs as the woman sucks on his neck. Wow, you're strong, very strong indeed, that's a turn on. She bends down trying to pull down his red underwear, but it is this action which is enough. Superman pushes her back as she soars through the air a few feet. He zooms over, catching her before she goes through the wall. Downstairs, Wonder Woman gets up from the table. I just remembered that I just forgot something up at the room, I'll be right back, Diana tells. Enough, Superman yells out. The nurse gets up off of a blushing Bruce. It is very rare for him to feel this way, but given the circumstances he does. What is wrong with the two of you? Did you change your minds? The woman in the nurse suit yells out. As we were trying to say, you must have the wrong room, Soups tells, setting the woman on her feet. Both women dig into their bras, pulling out 1 card each. The accident can be felt greatly between them both. They had come to room 550 when it was in fact room 450 they were supposed to be in. They had been off by 1 floor. We are incredibly sorry, it was the room below this that needed our services. Bruce gets off of the bed, walking over to his bag and pulling out his wallet. To Superman's surprise, he gives them both a 20. I don't want either of you feeling troubled, so just take the money and go. Don't worry, neither of us will be notifying anyone of this misunderstanding, Bruce says, putting on a forged smirk. The women take their money, leaving almost instantly. Bruce turns over, looking at an irritated Superman. This stays between the two of us. As far as I'm concerned, this didn't happen, Bruce tells. Wonder Woman flies through an open window on the 5th floor. She notices 2 women coming out of the room of Superman and Batman. What in the world could this mean? She was not going to make any predictions just yet, but it made her think, seeing them placing money in their bras. She decides to just stand by and wait till they pass. Maybe they'll spit out what happened. That was definitely different. Too bad they didn't want more. We could have really given them something to remember. What do you expect? They were true gentlemen. Wow, but they sure were real hoties. Diana watches as the 2 ladies get into the elevator. Some sort of pain runs throughout her body, but it isn't physical but more spiritual. Could it really be this way? Could Superman and Batman drop that low of turning to prostitutes? In her mind, they were both beyond good looking and could get any woman they desired. Maybe they aren't even in the room. Perhaps Bats and Soups let someone else borrow the room. This just couldn't be. She steps forward, walking toward their room, biting at her bottom lip. When reaching forward to knock, she hopes there is no one inside. Both Bruce and Cal look over at one another, answering at the same time with a simple, "Who is it?" Diana's head drops, thinking the worst, but she knows that she cannot just run off. "It's Diana, can I come in?" Relief can be felt between both men, grasping it wasn't someone else from their recent encounter. Superman walks over, opening the door, only to have Wonder Woman staring at him. "Well, aren't you go on a come in?" Superman asks, sounding concerned. She glimpses over at Bruce, who looks through his wallet. That was enough to confirm Bruce in fact paid for their pleasures, and she now knew. "You know what, it can wait till later. I've kept everyone else waiting long enough," she says rudely. Wonder Woman leaves, almost slamming the door behind her. Bruce shakes his head but couldn't stop himself from smiling. It was obvious that she had seen the women leaving the room, and believed he and Cal had been messing around with them. Not wanting to cause a scene, he decides not to go after her. He could explain to her later what had happened. "Gee, I wonder what's wrong with her. She must not be feeling too well," Superman emphasizes. Bruce gets up from the chair, placing his wallet within his pocket, strolling toward the door. "I'll be back shortly. I'm just going across the street to get us some outfits," Bruce says, opening and closing the door. The sound of a closing door causes Diana to turn around and look, walking the other way as Bruce. She rolls her eyes, turning the opposite direction of him, walking to her room. Back at the hideout of Khan, Shang Tsung has returned to the castle, with the results of which fighter was favored most by the fans to win the tournament. He is greeted in the front room by Baraka. "What is all that you hold there?" the Tarkata asks. "It's the poll results. Some people must be hoping for an upset. Ms. Marvel has the second most votes to Superman. The Flash is only under her by 9 votes. The day to loosen comes and passes quickly, leading up to the opening of the second round of the competition. Liu Kang enters into the dome over an hour before the event is set to proceed. As much as the Shalian warrior has been trained, he can sense the presence of another individual nearby. Emerging from a corner is Wolverine, skimming down on a flyer he holds. Liu relaxes, realizing there is no danger opposing him. "If I can remember correctly, you're one of the fighters who traveled from another world. So what do you think of the Mortal Kombat tourney so far?" Liu asks. "It's actually not too bad. Whoever set this thing up picked a good spot. The surrounding turf is striking." Wolverine walks past Liu, continuing on his trail. Once out of sight, he pushes down on his earpiece located within his cowl. "I hope you're having better luck than me. Why don't we just forget this, Bats? Perhaps this isn't a setup. Maybe it is as simple as winning this competition." "In my opinion, you think too much," Wolverine says. Batman sprints along the top of the dome, looking down inside. No matter what anyone says, there is a swirl of deception which plays in his head. Batman grapples over to the other side of the dome, changing the vision within his lenses, trying to locate something to follow up on. "You could be right, Logan, but I've been around long enough to know when something just isn't right." The Caped Crusader moves around swiftly, noticing Liu Kang walking the opposite direction of Logan, but someone follows him from behind holding an axe. "Wolverine, behind you!" Batman yells, gliding down. Wolverine leaps out of the blade's path, uprising the razor claws from his knuckles. The individual who stands before him is A7, featuring Viking. Batman comes down on the Viking's back, trying to wrestle him to the ground, only to be thrown up against a wall. Laughing is the enormous brute with extent, dignity and fortitude. Batman grabs the wrist of Wolverine, who attempts to attack the unknown person head-on. "Before any further action, why did you try and attack my friend here?" Bats asks. The Viking drops his weapon, charging the two, grabbing them by their necks, throwing them into a stack of chairs. He looks down on the two, laughing frenziedly. Wolverine jumps up, kicking into the giant, only moving him back a bit. The Viking punches Wolverine a few feet backwards, smiling at how easy it is. Batman rolls over to the side, getting up while pulling out 2 batarangs. "I'm gonna ask you once and only once, why in the world are you attacking us?" Batman demands. The Viking reaches out to grab the Dark Knight, who jumps over his shoulder. Before getting to his backside, Batman is grabbed by his ankle and thrown in the direction of Wolverine. Bats pulls out his grapple gun, slinging himself to the top of a wall. "You sure are a clever one, very impressive." The Viking looks up at Batman, displaying a huge smirk. "Come down here so I can crush you." Trying to catch the giant off guard, Wolverine tries to cut at him, only to be grabbed by the arm and thrown to the side. What makes it shoddier is the fact he didn't take his eyes off the Caped Crusader. Batman glides down, throwing the explosive batarangs at the obvious destroyer, being grabbed by his cape and thrown to the side as well. The Viking again snickers at how effortless it seems. The Viking falls forward, being attacked from his backside. He catches himself before completely falling to the ground. The Leviathan brushes himself off, turning to his attacker. Standing before him is Liu Kang, who is obviously confused. "I'm not sure why you all are fighting. The tournament will be progressing in less than an hour. There is no need for all of this nonsense," Liu tells. "Why don't you tell that to this brainless idiot?" Wolverine takes a stand, keeping his guard up. He attacked us and didn't have the decency of telling us why. Lou turns over to the Viking, surprisingly being kneed in the stomach, along with being uppercut 10 featuring Wolverine along with Batman charge the giant, kicking him back into a glass display. Lou wastes no time joining by their side, watching as the Viking stands. "Why don't you stop wasting everyone's time and just tell me why you are attacking us?" Bats asks. The Viking walks over, picking up a table, throwing it at the three, who all jump out of its path. At this point the champion of the tournament himself is confused on the actions by this unknown individual. Batman shoots his grapple gun in the direction of the Viking, who dodges the sharp tip, which ends up in the ceiling. The Dark Knight pulls fiercely on the gun, bringing down a huge portion of the ceiling over the Viking. "It's about time, that maniac was driving me insane. Do any of you have a clue why he attacked us?" Wolverine asks. There is no time to reply, as the rumble in front of them gradually moves. The Viking busts out of the top, running past and knocking the three of them over. Lou jumps up, attempting to go after him, but is grabbed by Batman. "Let him go, I've placed one of my bat trackers on him. Whatever that was all about, whoever sent him is probably expecting us to try and follow. I will check up on this later. Besides, if I can recall, he is one of the participants in the tournament," Batman tells. "You can't be too sure about that. For all we know, that could have just been some random act." Lou takes a look around at the destroyed area. "Maybe it's best we report him to the tournament hosts. They will have proper consequences for his actions." Both Batman and Wolverine look over at one another, and it is clear they're on the same page. "Quite honestly, I'm not sure if we can even trust the hosts. There is undeniably a lot more going on than what any of us know. Whatever it is, I will get to the bottom of this. It almost feels like we're doing exactly what they want," Batman informs. Lou steps forward, showing apparent signs of a little panic. "What are you talking about, and who is this person you speak of?" "He doesn't know yet, but we all need to watch our backs in the meantime. It seems someone might be trying to get rid of a few contestants early. Whatever it is we do, the top priority is to find out what is really the purpose of this tourney," Wolverine adds. Batman navigates through his utility belt, locating the bat tracker. He takes a look at where the Viking travels, immediately knowing that he is somewhere outside of the dome's borders, still on the move. "How confident are you on your speculation? Do you truly believe that there might be a setup?" Lou asks, wanting to be 100% sure. Batman nods his head, looking up from the tracker. "Now, looking back on the events which lead up to us traveling to this world, I'd say we were baited. Someone did a good job of it too, but there is no time to dwell on past mistakes." The Dark Knight places the tracker back into his utility belt. The three stand silent for some moments, thinking about what they should do next. Wolverine bends down, picking up a piece of shattered glass. "I think we can all agree that the best course of action for now is to just go with the flow. In fact, it would do us all well to put this little encounter behind us for the time being, and just worry about our upcoming matches," Wolverine suggests. The two agree, knowing that if anything they must be alert. Wolverine leads them to the waiting area, where they're greeted by other participants who arrived early. Khan's castle. Pathina enters the main room with Baraka at her side. Shao Kahn sits at a table in a corner of the room, looking over some papers. Pathina walks across the room, placing one hand on the table's surface. "Shouldn't you already be at the arena, setting up preparations with Shang Tsung?" Pathina rolls her eyes, informing him of her distress. "Whatever you're doing, hurry and finish, so you can help with more important things." Khan glimpses at the two before looking back down on his notes. "Instead of wasting time, the two of you should be on your way. Shang Tsung might need some assistance. I will be over there as soon as I can," Khan tells. Just then the front door to the room opens, with that of a 7 feet being entering. Pathina turns her attention to this individual. He takes a few steps closer before stopping. "So were you able to destroy the one called Wolverine? Don't let this be bad news, Adalzam. As you can see, I'm not in a good mood," Pathina asks. "I'm sorry to disappoint, but he had allies, one dressed as a bat and the other seemed to be some material artist, kung fu kinda guy. I figured it best for me to leave the situation. He will be easily disposed of. I knew it would have been better to try and take him down at nightfall." Pathina automatically knows that Batman was present, but has no idea who the other was. She leans up against the table, thinking about what to do with the circumstances. "Did any of them try and follow you? It is very crucial that our plans are kept secret from anyone." "You don't need to worry about that at all. According to how I was picking the three of them apart so easily, I'd say they were afraid to follow. I only left given the fact that I didn't want any other participants to walk in on what was happening." The two talk back and forth for a little bit longer before the conversation ends. It is at this time that Pathina exits the room along with Baraka and Adalzam. When outside of the castle's front entrance, Baraka takes to a different path than the two, informing them he has something that must be taken care of. Pathina nods, following Adalzam the Viking to the tournament arena. The Tarkata rechecks his surroundings a few times over before proceeding into a forest area. He sprints down a familiar path, reaching the meeting point without much delay. I would have been here sooner, but I had to shake the giant and beauty off my trail. Next time we set up another one of these meetings, it will be safer to have them during twilight hours, Baraka tells. Quan Kai unwraps what appears to be some kind of poster. Reptile sits on an enormous rock, tapping a finger over its surface. I know the two of you have a tournament to get back to, so I will make this as swift as possible. Based on the information you have given me, Baraka, you need to steal the sapphire orb from Pathina. Reptile steps up, interrupting the sorcerer. Have the two of you been keeping information away from me? If we're going to work as a team to bring Lord Shinnok back, I must know all the information which has been gathered, Reptile tells. Have a seat, Reptile. All will be explained. Baraka just gave me this information around 3 hours ago. As I was saying, we must obtain that orb. It contains unimaginable power which Pathina plans to use to power her army to conquer this world. But if we get our hands on it, we'll have more than enough power to resurrect Shinnok, Quan Kai tells. Inside the dome, over an hour passes with the beginning of the second round. Every seat within the stands has been bought out. The energy and excitement can be felt between everyone throughout the dome. The announcer steps into the ring, causing the crowd to get blaring. Hello everyone and welcome to round 2. Before we get started, I would like to tell you all a few things. As you should already know, there are only 200 remaining participants, and by the end of the day there will only be 100. But moving on to the polls, the fighter favored to win this tournament by your votes is Superman. Now for our first match, it is in fact Superman versus Reg the Magician. Superman gets up from his chair, walking past the many contestants, which some show faces of resentment. He stops in front of someone who frowns. If you don't mind, I would like to speak with you after my match. You know you can tell me when something is bothering you, Diana, Supes tells. He rubs a hand over her shoulder only to have her shrug him off. She looks the opposite direction of him as he continues his way to the ring. What she had seen the other morning still bothers her a bit, but she figures it isn't her business, therefore shouldn't say a word. Supes enters into the ring along with his opponent. So where would the two of you like to battle today? Reg steps forward with an exceedingly huge smirk on his face. I will take on this so-called Man of Steel in Halloween Town, Reg quickly says. Superman nods, agreeing to the suggestion. The announcer steps out of the ring as usual. At this time the two opponents are zapped to the fighting area. Superman looks around to dead leaves blowing all around, and the smell of pumpkin pie brings a smile to his face. Supes looks around to see kids trick or treating. The full moon is the last touch which brings on the Halloween spirit completely. The Man of Steel is so caught up in the moment he doesn't realize when a kid bumps into him falling back. Watch where you're going, mister, the kid yells, kicking across the leg of Supes. Superman just smiles, not feeling the hit at all. The child runs, catching up with his friends. He is brought back to reality with the echo of screaming children. He looks across the way to see children running from a huge fire breath shooting pumpkin. On the top of it is Reg himself. Are you ready to begin, Superman? I'm going to prove to everyone that you can be beat. I'd say this would be a great world for your demise, Reg tells. Superman flies into the air, soaring toward the pumpkin, who blasts fireballs at him. Supes just punches the heat balls out of his way, flying forward. He punches right through the pumpkin, watching it splatter to pieces. Impressive, Superman, but I have a lot more up my sleeve. Reg chants a series of words. Within seconds ghosts surround the area along with skeletons ripping out of the bottom surface. Superman steps back, taking a deep breath, stepping forward and blowing out his ice breath. The skeletons are frozen solid. Supes then blasts them to pieces using his laser vision. Next he zooms in circles around the ghosts at incredibly expeditious velocity, destroying them instantly. Just like I've told many others who have opposed me throughout my life, you're gonna have to try harder than that. Reg stands in place, wide-eyed, but at the same time excited for the challenge. So I see you're the type of guy who likes to get straight to the point. Well, fasten your seatbelt, because now you're in trouble. Reg chants yet another set of words with a large amount of energy forming around him. He begins growing fangs along with claws. Superman takes a few more steps back, grasping he is transforming. It doesn't take long for the transformation to be complete. The Man of Steel doesn't show much emotion looking up at the now bronzed Tyrannosaurus Rex. The dinosaur swings its tail at Soups, who grabs it, throwing the 70+ featuring T-Rex some distance away into a lake. Superman takes to the sky, following in the direction of his opponent. The spectators back within the stadium show their appreciation for the Kryptonian's skills. The T-Rex immediately hops out of the lake back onto dry land. "I think I've had about enough of this," Superman says to himself. Soups looks around to see many trees coming up with an idea to finish the match. He flutters downward, pulling a tree out of the ground, flying over and whacking the dino across its head. Reg goes upward like a baseball, falling to the ground over 100 feet away. Reg returns to his human form, knocked out. The two are immediately brought back to the dome. Superman grins at the sound of all the cheers. Winner is Superman. The paramedics come into the ring and take Reg along with them to the infirmary area. Superman hovers out of the ring, waving to the spectators flying to the waiting area. He comes to a stop, locating Spider-Man standing next to the Green Lantern. "Hey, good stuff, Soups. That sure was an entertaining match. You seemed a bit out of focus at first, but other than that you were great," Spidey tells. "Yeah, I guess I was, huh? It's just that entire area reminded me of some of the Halloweens I had back in Smallville as a child. Those were the good old times." A few matches pass by with most everyone sitting around with their eyes glued to the screens. Next up we have Mocap versus Ms. Marvel, one of them being another crowd favorite. Mocap is the first to the ring, very energized that he had passed round 1. Everyone including Mocap look up to see Ms. Marvel enter into the ring, coming down in front of her opponent. "If it is fine with her, I would like to fight here in the ring," Mocap tells. She agrees to his suggestion, which is when the announcer steps out of the ring. Mocap starts things off fast, sprinting forward toward his opponent, casting a few punches and kicks which are precluded. He punches at her some more as she counters, slapping him to the ground. He takes a stand, spitting off to the side. "That's interesting. Not only are you super powered, but you know a thing or two about hand-to-hand combat. To top it off with beauty makes it just that more why," Mocap says. Ms. Marvel catches him off guard by reaching forward, grabbing him by his shoulders, flying them both into the air. The spectators look up some distance, astounded at the sight. Ms. Marvel rockets down fast, sending Mocap head first into the ring's surface, knocking him out. The winner of this match, by way of knockout, is Ms. Marvel. Back in the waiting area, Batman is approached by that of Captain America along with Spider-Man. "Hey Bats, why do you choose to always be alone? Heck, it almost depresses me seeing you sitting around just staring into space. It almost makes me question if you have a life," Spidey tells. Batman looks over at the wall crawler with an eyebrow up behind his cowl. "First off, I do have a life. Right now I'm just trying to figure out what is going on before it is too late," Batman replies. "Yeah, whatever you say, Bats, you keep telling yourself that. If I were you, I'd try and relax a little bit. It's obvious you carry too much of the world's problems on your shoulder. Besides, at the end of the day, you're just a man with no superpowers. Don't get me wrong, I love all your really cool toys and stuff." Cap walks over, placing a hand on the shoulder of Spider-Man, applying a tight grip. "You've said enough. I'm sure he understands what you're saying. Maybe you should think a little more before you speak. Do you forget what this man has done? He has worked up his status to a legend. Enough, let's just forget this conversation ever happened." Batman looks down, pulling a stack of cards out of his utility belt. "Anyone for a game of poker?" Both nod, consenting in the idea. Within a back room, Guro stands over Shang Tsung, who looks over the set of wins and losses so far in round 2. Since Pathina is so obsessed with destroying those fighters from the other world, why not have them face each other now? Guro asks. "Patience, Guro, we must keep the spectators hyped for this event. As you should already know, a handful of those fighters are crowd favorites." Shang Tsung continues to observe the matches, watching as several contestants are eliminated. Next up we have Sindel versus Wonder Woman. Captain America immediately sets down his cards, standing up. "The two of you can start up without me. I'll be back soon." Batman and Spider-Man look up from their cards at one another. It's official, Cap has a crush on the Amazon princess. I can't blame him though, she's like everything a man could want and more. Is it just me, or did I just repeat myself? Spidey says, shrugging his shoulders. Batman looks around, locating Flash, who tries to flirt with Sonya and Ms. Marvel. He just shakes his head, displaying a small smirk. The end. Now we will see you in the next video.